Hello, and welcome to Danctuary.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Danctuary podcast, episode 5 core game. I'm sVr, I'm today joined by an amazing lineup. We have Raxxanterax, Deadset, Lord Fluffy, and FilthyCasual. How are you guys doing today?
Good, man.
Amazing.
You guys had any chance to play the most recent PTR version? Like, PTR is back up. It has been quite the complicated road, I would say, for the PTR. Did you have a chance, Rex?
I did. I jumped in right away before it went down. I tried Satyr. Wow, that went way down. I tried the Wizard and 4-player. It was lagging a lot, but I've been hearing rumors that the LOD version is good. I tried Chicken, and to be honest, it didn't feel a lot different. I hear Leap Quick is going up. I hear Trag's Fang is fixed, so lots of things are happening.
You happy with the changes? Like with the next iteration, I guess? It's actually the second iteration that we've seen. Is it what you expected, or you wanted to see more?
Well, I mean, that's always the first inclination, right? I want everything that I want, and I want it now. But I think at least every iteration, it shows that Blizzard is listening, and they are making progress toward making the game a lot better. So for that reason, I would say probably overall, I'm happy so far.
How do you feel about that one, Deadset?
Likewise, I tried the Crusader. Of course, saw the ramifications of the changes. I could not really spend that much time. I think the changes are good overall. I wonder if we're going to see any more till the end of the PTR. I'm probably thinking no. What do you guys think?
Probably not. I think,
Probably not.
yeah, it's getting quite late, isn't it?
I mean, yeah,
Maybe.
the season is already pretty long, right? But the PTR had some issues. Like, have we ever seen a PTR that had so many disconnects and lags and just issues?
Yeah, it's been like Katy Perry up and down, hasn't it?
I was actually surprised they even took it down, to be honest. Like, I feel like we're used to bad performance on PTR.
But this bad?
Why?
I mean, yeah, like, historically speaking, like, I remember Necromancer beta, like, where Spirit Barrage, we played Spirit Barrage, Trash Clearer, and we wanted to test a Necromancer boss killer. It took us 40 minutes to get to the boss. Because we always, like, we placed, like, one Phantasm, and we got lagged out. And then, you know, once the Phantasm exploded, we got the progression. And it took us 40 minutes just, you know, throwing corpses at the rift to spawn the boss. And then try a Necromancer for a boss killer. That's a long time ago. So I think that was the worst in terms of performance. But we didn't get like disconnects and crashes, and you know, didn't get like thrown to desktop with a crash of the game. That has been, in terms of like chaotic PTR, probably the most chaotic one. Would you guys agree with that one?
Yeah, I think people not being able to get in the game was a big one. You know, just not logging in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they're all pretty bad, like performance-wise.
Yeah, I guess server performance is always an issue. What a question on PTR. Yeah,
Though I don't think that they would take it into account to extend the PTR further or anything like that. I mean,
would you want them to? If you could make the decision right now.
I don't think so. No, I mean,
If we get another round of patch notes, sure.
Yes, I would say yes as
depending
well.
on patch notes, of course.
So third
But
iteration.
I just don't think that.
Okay, you don't think it's
we'll
gonna
get
happen?
more iterations. Yeah, that's probably my.
But the question is, do you want it to be? Do you want
Okay,
a third
sure.
iteration? You want
If
it.
there's changes and it's meaningful changes, of course.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
I want to play season 22. Can we?
Oh,
Can we get that rolling? Can we start blasting again, please? I want to do my 130 rats already. That's what I want to do. I haven't had enough rats in the last 3 years.
I mean, Tragules has been fixed, right? Like the word on the street, like I couldn't confirm this myself up until now. I'll probably do so tomorrow, but Tragul is fixed. Like we had like the multiplier issue that we discussed in episode 2, I think, where there was like the square root magic happening, and it's back to the normal state, meaning reds are better than they were last iteration. So red's pretty good, right? XP pretty bueno.
Paragon 7000, here we come. Let's go.
Yes. All right, speaking of patch notes, now today we kind of have a large topic. It's something we haven't done yet, and the topic for today is bring your own patch notes, which means all of us, we have our own ideas on things you want to see, and we collected them and we're going to discuss them today. Now, we announced last week that this is the episode where we'll do it, and plenty of people reached out, specifically to me, with their 60 pages long design documents. Hey, sVr, can you take a look at this? And, is this something you guys can talk about? Now, I'm very thankful for all of you reaching out. However, the scope of this episode is not to create the second expansion pack of Diablo 3. A lot of people were suggesting incredible system and design changes and all that stuff, but we are not here to make a plethora of redesigns. We are really trying today to present a couple of changes that we think are accessible. They're actually doable with the limited amount of time Blizzard is willing to invest into the game. That's why we're here today. And with no further ado, we'll start with user interfaces and changes to the user interface. And the first one is a common request. It is, there should be the option to display the number for mana, health, and shielding if you have a shield. So we know other games have it, Power of Exile, for instance, and we know D2 even has it, right? You can actually toggle that you can see your life value and your mana. So how do you guys feel about that one? I as a main wizard, shielding class, this is D-Squirt's class. I want to see if a shield is up, right? And if I need to get out to protect my squirts. How do you guys feel about that change? Rex, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, so for me, it's a simple concept. More information is always better than less, right? Especially if you have the option to toggle it on or off. And I think the main value for actually seeing the numbers is actually knowing what exactly is going on and being able to test things rather than, okay, it looks like my health globe is 70% of the way full, and now it's like about 50% of the way full. What exactly happened there? I think it just helps you understand the game better. It's kind of like, and I don't mean to instantly on the first topic bleed into other topics, but it's almost as simple as the Greater Rift bar filling up doesn't have a percentage until you get to 95. I don't understand that. I don't understand why it isn't there either, because it's like you can actually learn. People would learn a lot of things in other facets of the game just by being able to see that number. For example, a lot of people always say, Rax, I would love to learn about the good mob types. How do you know what's a good mob type? Well, a good mob type is one that doesn't kill me, that gathers up, that makes my purple bar go to the right side of the screen. And it's sometimes hard to determine that, well, my bar was about here and now my bar is about here. But if you could actually see, oh, I have a room full of vile swarms, I didn't kill an elite and went from 10 to 17, that's a lot. And I think, I don't know, more information, better than less information is my short and sweet answer. I'm definitely in favor of it.
Filthy, how do you feel about numbers for shielding and mana live?
Yeah, I mean, more information is always better, isn't it? Yeah, squirts, massive for squirts.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely up for it.
Fluff.
To be honest, I mean, obviously the shield, there just needs to be some sort of indicator of like what shield you have. I don't know that, that being over that like the globe or something is necessarily the solution or whatever. People always, when I play Path of Exile, they're like, how do you not have health numbers on? Like, I guess I'm just so used to seeing the red thing go up and down that like I just don't even notice it.
Really? Even when you have something like cast 1 damage taken, like you usually want to know, like, okay, sure. Okay, cool. Oh. Like I always play with numbers on, like put there.
Number nerd, I know.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And then like maybe to solve the would it having the percentage bar over the GR thing like really help players understand how much they're gonna get? I don't know. You could have like some weird like option in the menus to like actually show what progress a mob's gonna give when you kill it, like over their head or something, like for like a training mode or something. I don't know, but it is kind of weird in general that like mob types give different progression in Diablo 3. Like it's really hard for noobs to wrap their head around. So
wait, so different things give different progression,
right?
Yes, they do. Yeah. The
Yeah,
more
so
heavy
to-
stuff gives more
To
progression.
piggyback on what Fluffy is saying, so one thing that I would never expect a casual to ever realize is, so they maybe just do like their Hadrig's gift, and then maybe if they're feeling ambitious, they're just trying to open a higher GR than they ever have. And it is completely possible for a casual that's not really knowing what they're doing to open a GR 70 and struggle tremendously with it. And then in the very next rift, they get a 4-corner Vile Swarm Festering with a conduit at the beginning. They click the conduit and they don't know what they're doing. They run around and all of a sudden they have the largest purple bar ever and they finish the rift and they're like, well, 10 minutes ago I tried a GR70 and it didn't. I failed it miserably. And now I succeeded with flying colors and I don't understand. If people were more aware, and we'll talk about this later, of the massive variance in the quality of mob types and the quality of maps, I actually think that, I would guess that it would enhance their experience a bit. I know casuals are not exactly looking for that, but I think it would give them more information about it than what's currently being displayed, which is nothing.
All right, do we think that casuals actually need that kind of information? So the question is like those changes, like be it the percentage on the progression bar, be it the energy shield value, or be it whatever value that you can think of. Like I want to know how much DR is on this monster, right? Can I still like freeze this monster or not? Or something like how much progression is this monster actually worth, right? Like Executioner 1.1, right? And so on. Do you guys think that this is a change, all those numbers, is that more for the high-end persons in the game or more for the casuals? Because I would say this is something that a casual just does not care about, right? And that's my
higher
opinion.
end.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the whole point is to try to convert casuals into
Is
hardcore
that?
players.
Really?
Yes.
So
I think that if we were to, or at least if I were to make that change or make the decision if I want to implement that change, I would ask myself just as much as why I should include it. I should ask myself also why I wouldn't. And I guess the answer here would be that I don't want to reduce the game to a math equation. And I think the Diablo designers and developers have brought that reason up many times over many aspects of the game, this one included. So I think it's an elective mode kind of a situation. It's something that should be present as an option, and I think that pretty much solves the issue in itself, because yeah, it might be something for the higher end player, but just the option to convert to that mindset is very valuable. And I do think it should be off by default, and just have the option be present. It does make sense that you might want to take Diablo as a game where you just go in, slaughter monsters, feel good about your character, but also having the option to take it to the next level, have it be more when it comes to how you see it as a hobby. There's a lot of value there, just as much as there was in having elective mode in the game.
So can I quickly piggyback off of what Fluffy said, because I think he made a good point. So the first part of the question was, is it for casuals or high-end players? It's much more for high-end players. That's definitely true. And maybe convert is a strong word. I don't know if many casuals are going to be converted to high-end players or if that should even be a goal. But I think even for people that play it casually, that enjoy it as a hobby, I think anything that we can do that may help them do better in the game is going to make them enjoy it more. Nobody, whether you're a casual or a high-end player, likes to log into Diablo and suck. Nobody likes that, right? So anything that we can do that will help them learn if they want to take that next step, I think is beneficial.
All right.
Well, when I say like convert into a hardcore player, I'm talking about like players that come back time and time again and play for, as much time as they possibly can. And I think one of the things, if not maybe the only thing that really sinks their hooks into a player in Diablo 3 is the competitive aspect. So giving players that information to better understand and push higher on the boards is invaluable.
I suppose it's always like a sliding scale, isn't it? You've got the very, very casual at the bottom, and then the high end it's not like a yes or no kind of question, is it? It slides on a spectrum, doesn't it? So I guess there's the kind of encouragement there maybe for people.
All right. Speaking of sliding on the spectrum, let's try to boil it down to a simple yes and no per person. So if we would be the ones to decide here, values for mana, health, and shielding. Let's get started. Rex, yes or no?
I would absolutely add it to the game.
All right, that's it.
Definite yes, right under elective mode toggle in the gameplay options.
Lord Fluffy?
Shielding, yes. I don't really see a need for the others.
Okay, and FilthyCasual?
Yeah, defo, but option. I like what Deadset said. Yeah, option.
I also say yes on this one, and for me it's also elective in the options. Like Ryan brought up the point about progression and like the percentage bar on the Greaterifts bar. How do you guys feel about that one? Is that a yes or no for you guys? Rex?
I mean, yes, it already displays at 95. Why can't we see it the whole time?
I think that's reasonable. That's it.
Thumbs up. Yep.
Thumbs up. And Fluff and Filthy.
Defo.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we settled on that one. And the next user interface thing that we're going to talk about is, I think, Ryan, you came up with that one, right? It is convention of elements. You quickly want to like enlighten us on the issue here, especially for the casual players. What's the issue of convention of elements?
Yeah, so this is definitely more of a high-end thing. So I would not expect any casual people to have tremendous benefit out of this. So that's very, very obvious. Convention of the elements is a buff that rotates through the different elements, and then that you deal massive damage at certain points in time. When you are playing in the higher level, you cannot see when your teammates are going into different elements, and that actually makes a huge difference for actually a lot of the meta characters, for a lot of the trash clearers, and for a lot of the boss killers. You need to stun the boss or stun the trash at a certain point in time. And you never know what that time is because you can't see other people's convention of the elements. So the idea up for bid here is, can we get a icon next to people's names if they're wearing COE that will just show you what element they're in, and it will show you when you need to do the stuff that you need to do. And yeah, it's very, very difficult. And what's the ramifications here, like your options as a player, if you want to move into the higher end stuff, are you either have to get on voice chat and talk about it, or you could just, I guess you could just randomly guess, or do something else. I don't know.
To be fair, I'm sure there's this one or two people that will later on respond in the comments that there is a way. There is this small visual ball that is like circling around the character with the COE element. Right. There's this witch doctor standing like beneath like 10 Golgurs in a huge pool, and it's like, oh, you cannot see my COE? Haha, right? But there's
out of the group.
Exactly. Like Ryan stated, most people, I believe, they just straight up go into Discord, and it's very common for people to communicate on Discord. But that is a high-end thing, right? It's like grouping.
I got a group question real quick. Is everyone's COE rotation exactly the same? Is safe if everyone was using it?
No.
You can, in fact, in a lot of times, you like if you're doing rats, sometimes the rats desync them. So you're hitting physical at different times. That way, you're not hitting a juggernaut with double physical and vaporizing them. You go to the next juggernaut, and well, GGC in 8 seconds or whatever it is.
So the way that COE is starting is if you have it unequipped for more than, it's like 6 or 8 seconds, I don't know anymore, and then you equip the buff, it then starts ticking on your lowest lexicographical element. All right, so for wizard, it's A, arcane, right? And then it goes in lexicographical order for the elements. And it always starts on the lowest element if you have it unequipped for 8 seconds. And that's what people, generally speaking, use to desync their COEs. They unequip it, wait a couple of seconds, wait until the other DPS character is past his DPS element, and then equip your COE. And it starts.
But in a perfect world, if like 2 Necros went in the Rift, would they be in sync at all?
I mean, sometimes, that's a 1 out of 3. So COE always starts on the same game tick. It can't be that one is 1 second into your COE and the other one is 3 seconds. so the interval always starts at the same time, and it's either you're in sync with physical, or you're in sync with physical to poison, or with physical to what's the cold, with a different necro in the group. So there are only 3 choices. That's about it. So Filthy, how do you feel about seeing the convention of a different player? Is that a big deal to you?
No, definitely not. It's that's absolutely 100% high end issue, isn't it?
Have you ever looked at that one, or considered, like, did you ever have a playstyle moment where you were like, oh, it would have been sweet to know in which element that guy was? Did it ever occur to you?
Like maybe sometimes when we've grouped, but not massively. Yeah, it's definitely one for the other guys. This one,
That's true. It's it is an important thing for support classes, like Ryan already stated, right? It's a huge deal on boss fights, especially when you have a necromancer partner, because you want to activate his crispins. You need to time a stun specifically to have his crispins up when the damage kicks in. So it is a big deal. On that end, I think we said everything that we needed to say about this topic. So gun to the chest, guys. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, I think we've established the value in having that convention display, even if it's a high-end consideration. Do you see it though? Where is it displayed? Like, do you have any idea how it's fixed?
I guess it's
I'm having
where
a hard time realizing where it should be in the interface, right?
Well, you can see some buffs for people in the top left corner next to their portrait.
Yeah.
So it would just be one of those buffs that's constantly ticking.
I think wasn't there a recent patch where they you were only able to see the proc of a different class? No, you were only able to see the proc of a team member if you were playing the same class, and they changed it like a couple of patches ago that now you can see the proc of each class in your group. So if you're a Necro, you can also see when your barb procced. And there are a couple of other buffs, right? It's like when you are a wizard and you have a wizard in group, you can see his Archon stacks. But if you were to be a demon hunter and he's still a wizard, you cannot see his Archon stacks. For whatever magic reason, it makes sense to Blizzard. But that's how it is. So I guess we'd place them in the same corner of the convention there. Right.
Sure.
So how do you guys feel about it? Yes or no? Feel free to just randomly say yes or no. I'm for yes.
Yep.
I think it should be in there.
Gimme.
Gimme.
If it takes any dev time, no.
Reasonable statement, definitely. Yeah. Like it's a low impact only for a couple of people. So yes, if it takes like a lot of dev time, then I would also go with no.
Yeah, why not? Chuck it in.
Chuck it in.
All yeah.
Right. I believe that is all that we have for user interfaces at this point. Is there anything you guys wanted to bring up in terms of pure user interface?
Yes. Yes. One more thing. What about things like seeing if your simulacrums are live, or like even a timer for like the shadow clones? I think there's a lot of inconsistencies in the game for like pets, and maybe we don't need to like generically go through one by one. But I mean, currently what I do, and maybe this is a noob strategy, but currently what I have to do when I'm seeing if my Sims are alive, I like blood rush to the edge of the map and I throw bone spears off of the map, and I see if do I have 3 bone spears thrown or not? That's literally what I do.
Yep.
I don't know a better way to do it. And it's like, can I please just have an icon somewhere that says 2? That shows me that my Sims are alive. And same with the clones, just as a generic blanket statement across the game, but specifically for Sims, because they die all the time.
And for Sims, like some clarification on like how many times a day do you get like, well, Sims count as pets? Like, does this work for Sims? Does this passive work for, like, it's annoying.
Yeah.
There's no clarification on anything there.
I mean, I mean, we don't have a tag system in Diablo 3, right? Where something is tagged as pet, and then you know that all the gems that you have that buff pets work, right? We don't have a tagging system, so it's kind of, you need to test it or know it or guess it very often. I think a lot of people believe like Sims should work. They seem pet-ish to me. They follow you, they do your stuff and so on, but they're just not. So yeah, welcome to the world of inconsistencies. And then you have Phantasm, and like, Phantasm is a pet. So it's like,
the whole enforcer, the damage doesn't help them, but the mitigation does, or
Yes.
whatever. Like that doesn't make
Yes.
any sense.
It doesn't. It's correct. This is called wonky mechanics. There's no higher understanding here. It's just wonky mechanics. That's how it is, unfortunately.
I think the Sims would be good for the casuals as well, because Bone Spear is going to go off this season, isn't it? It's going to be very popular.
It's going to be very popular indeed. So is this something like specifically the sim thingy? Would you say it should be a buff in the buff bar? And I guess it should be incorporated with the set. You know, other sets, when you activate like your damage mitigation or your damage or whatever, if you gain like some dynamic buffs, then there's usually an icon at the bottom, like for instance for Tarasha or for Firebirds and so on, right? Would you say that there should be like a simulacrum counter in your buff bar stating 2 when you have 2, 0 when you have nothing, I guess, and 1 when 1 died?
Just do it like the mages for the singularity.
That's at the top left-hand corner, right?
Is it?
It is.
I thought that was on. Is it?
Yeah.
But how are witch doctor pets displayed? Like
Witch
when you
doctor?
have zombie dogs. I
Top
don't play
left-hand
them.
corner.
There,
Right.
top left.
Top left corner, next to the follower, and it's over there.
Nobody plays Witch Doctor.
Yeah, it would. To me, I would really be happy with any solution, and I would be they could definitely copy and paste. You know how they're doing it with another class. Top left corner, wherever the singularity mages are that we're used to, good with me. You want to put it somewhere else, that's fine. Any something would be better than nothing.
So once again, wanting to see information that is important for specific builds, and in this case, simulacrums. All right. Is there anything else you guys have in a user interface? Yes. Go.
I think the most important thing, like, screw the COE in a group. Like, what about like right-clicking a skill and just like it turning yellow and it's numlocked instead of actually numlocking?
Ooh, that's a hot take. Yeah, that's a hot take. So yes, with the introduction of cooldown reduction with Reaper of Souls, right? Well, you can have like less cooldown and uptime, right? And you can perma-click certain skills. So it would have been reasonable to introduce at that point also autocasting, which we don't have in the game, and that's a hot take. Like, I'm not sure if that's like accessible. If that's a low-hanging fruit, like it seems like a trivial thing to ask for, but we don't know how intensive the changes are on the back end for that one. But I think we all can agree that's probably something all of us want to have, right? If you've ever played Z-Barb, there are like 4 buttons that you need to permanently keep up, so it's probably something that we'd want, right?
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. But and why not a post-GR screen that shows how much damage you did?
Oof. I mean, we had a discussion back in there about dummies, and then you can tell people they're shit. It's like, look at you, you're a DPS, we're playing the same build, you're shit.
Yeah, but it's like it's a double-edged sword because there's
is.
there's the shaming, but there's also an educational opportunity to be like, how did you do so much more damage to me?
Really? I mean, it can happen, sure. I'm not sure how often it would happen, but yeah.
I mean, I would take time to educate Rax on why he didn't do as much damage as I did in a rip.
I've been asking for personal lessons for a long time. You got a busy schedule, dude.
Yeah, I get it.
FilthyCasual, how do you feel about those 2 suggestions from Fluff?
Yeah, I like the damage one. More info. Again, I think it encourages people to maybe pick up the performance a little bit, not in a negative way, but something to aspire to. So definitely, I like that one.
Would be interesting for red runs, huh?
Yeah.
I guess every single time you have 2 builds that are fairly the same, right? So back in the days, like VXP runs where we were running 2 wizards with like nearly the exact same setups, and then 2 times GOD in the last season at the beginning, right? So I guess on the builds that are equivalent, seeing the damage numbers could be interesting there. Is there anything else in terms of user interface? That's about it. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
So one more thing, I would like it if we could talk about it just for a brief moment. Is, do you guys think there would be value on the minimap, similar to how we can see goblins, to show where elites are, to show where the blue elites are, to where the yellow elites are? And obviously there is an aspect for the high-end players. If you're a Z-Barb and you're pulling everything forward, and if you miss a blue and you kill 2 of 3 blues and your teammates are like, excuse me, where's the last fly, Rax? And I say, I don't know, probably 5 screens back somewhere, and then I get G-kicked, and then I'm looking for another group to let down. But there may also be an advantage maybe for, kind of speed content or maybe lower tier content where, for example, rat runs move from elite to elite to elite. It helps you just kind of navigate where to go on the map. And maybe even for casuals, there's an advantage there where maybe they're trying to avoid elites because they're getting their ass kicked by every elite. Like, oh, there's a yellow, I'm not going over there. Do you guys think that it would clutter the map too much? Is it something that you would like? It was something that I would really want to see, especially in the higher end. But I think there could be something for everybody there.
Yeah, I don't think it just applies to higher end. I think Ingyan procs is a great indication of.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
You miss an Ingyan proc, you're like, I killed the elite. What's going on? I don't understand. I don't have my Ingyan proc because there's some stupid moth that didn't animate in or something like that. That's invaluable for sure.
Another thing that I just thought about is some monsters hide in the ceiling or burrow in the ground.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bile
yeah.
crawlers or the bats in the ceiling.
So let's go back a couple of patches, like what was it, like 2.42 or something, when the last time we got mob sets rescaling. They also changed the way that elites actually spawn in a Greater Earth than within a mob set. They got entirely changed. So in prior it was that elites would spawn within their mob set. So let's assume you were playing Vile Swarms, right? In a Vile Swarm mob set, you would only get elites that were either Dark Moths or Vile Swarms. And that's it. There were no other types of elites. Sometimes you also got the onions, so the tremors, I guess, right? Some people call them onions. And if you click the pylon, you either got a Dark Moth or a tremor as a yellow, and that's it, right? There were no other elites in there. They changed it to be within a mob set, when you spawn an elite, now it's like a random mob type. It can be anything, literally anything. Sometimes you get Armadons, sometimes you get Mallet Lords, sometimes you get Beast Accursed, whatever, right? It just happens randomly. And that also, the issue came when you would suddenly get elites that could hide, right? So Vile Bats would be in the ceiling, and you wouldn't see them when they spawn. Then you also had these guys that go underground, right? And you wouldn't see them. And this is, to me, the most painful thing in the game, because I can't tell you how often, I charged past the blue, and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you missed the blue on the way there. You need to spawn it first." I'm like, "Yeah, where exactly?" And he's like,
Sure.
It's like, yeah.
Right. And how many times have you been starved for elites, and it's just because you didn't step in the right place? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
speed
that would
builds.
be a great change, Rax.
Yeah, definitely in German speed builds. It's that's definitely important, isn't it? You've got that in for a reason, haven't you? Normally to permacast teleport, so even for that level, it's going to be quite important.
I see the quality of life. I just wonder if it's considered by developers and designers to be a function of the monster itself, to be hidden and to have the frustration and questioning where the monster went. I see the value for the player, but it might step on design intent there. But I'd love to see the change for sure.
To be fair, they removed that functionality for a couple of monsters. So for instance, in Act 2 you have these razor type dogs that go underground, and they have the tail that is swimming around, right? Because those always spawned underground, they removed them entirely. But they somehow forgot about Vile Bats that drop down from the ceiling, so they are still in the game. So as long as, so for me, it's sure include the notifier on the minimap for blue and yellows, okay, or just really remove everything that can spawn hidden in a hidden way. Either way is fine by me, but I tend more towards having the option to see where blues and yellows are, right? So gun on the chest, guys. Yes or no on that change? I already said yes. I think Ryan, you brought it up, so Ryan is on yes. Fluffy is on yes. That's it, Filthy?
Yep, defo.
All right.
I would go with a thumbs up as well. If it's too much against the design intent of hiding monsters, maybe they can appear after a set amount of time.
So
just a couple of seconds or so.
Immersion.
So
Yeah.
one thing on that Deadset that makes me think that that wouldn't be an issue is, for example, the goblins, you can't see them until you're like pretty close to them, right?
Mhm.
It's not telling you where a goblin is across the map. So even if they did it in a similar way, it's only going to tell you if you're near it. It's not going to give you, a treasure map of, okay, there's elite 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's how I'm going to move through this map. But at least it would tell you if it was close.
Hmm. Yeah,
How
that's
about if you engage them? Then it comes on the mini map.
Oh, so
That's
you
better than nothing. I'd rather
Hard-
see them
If they're close.
coming up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather go the goblin
Proximity.
strategy where you can see it how do they show up? Like one screen away, 1.5
Yeah.
screens away. But that would be better than nothing.
Yeah. Agreed.
In retrospect, I just noticed like when I do solo pushes, I regularly, before like setting up like a larger conduit, pause the game, and you see me sitting on stream there, pausing the game and then counting elites. Like I'm literally sitting there and just, all right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blues of this one, 2 of this one, right? And just sitting there and pausing the game and counting elites. So I guess that would be a bit easier then if I have them and I see them on the minimap and I can quickly check, yep, nothing left behind. I can just click the conduit. So on that end, that would definitely, it would be more intuitive to play, I guess, instead of like abusing the pause screen to check if everything is there. So that would be a net plus to me. Yeah.
And probably even easier than that, Matt, instead of when you get everything together counting it, it's just as you move along, you see the blue, you walk past it, you're dragging it forward. You will see if there's a blue dot lingering back there. You might even get to skip that into step entirely.
All right. I think that's it now on user interfaces for real. We have everything that we wanted to say about this one. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Moving on to game modes. And we are going to have a discussion about something that nobody is doing. It's called campaign. And when was the last time you guys played campaign? Anyone?
When the game came out, I'm not even kidding.
ROS, yeah.
RS?
Ooh, I might be the most recent one because I bought it on the Switch and I played it on the Switch last year. But yeah, it's just
most recent one last year.
I can see that one. What about you, Filthy? Do you even remember when you played the campaign?
Yeah, ROS. When ROS came out, like you had to go through Act 5. That was it.
on
Yeah, it's
PC,
been a while.
I don't remember. Yeah.
I think for me it
Years.
was also when I played it on the Switch for the first time, which was on Gamescom in 2017, I think. So it's been quite some time. And I think the patch line that we're discussing here is how about the only way to get Hedric's gift is via the campaign?
No.
Oh, that's a
Fluff loves campaign. You love campaign.
come on.
That's
That is a very polarizing patch line. It's very polarizing. I think some people will be like heavily against it, and some people will be like heavily for it. And there's like no in between. So we see Fluff is on the no side. Why Fluff? Do you like Hedric's gift?
I mean, I don't think it matters. Like, to be honest, it helps the casuals for sure. I think, those of us that are Paragon 1000 after day one, like it just doesn't really matter that much. It's going to slow us down a bit not getting it sometimes, but there's a lot of times some of us don't even take it because it's not worth our time. But yeah, making us do the campaign to get it, that's awful. Like, why? What? That's cruel. Really?
That sounds painful. It does. Like maybe extra Hadrigs. You can do a second one to play through. If you want to gear up an alternate character. But yeah, I think in the community that will probably be pretty unpopular. I guess.
I agree.
So
it will be probably very unpopular.
So I think that we may not be directly going after the issue here, right? The issue here is campaign is not something that you would play.
True.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to force you to do the campaign because then you will just hate it even more. You'll just be doing it while hating it. What I would lean toward is campaign is still not something that you have to do, but if you choose to do it, you can get some rewards. So Filthy's idea of you can get a separate Hadrig's gift. Does not make you do it, but if you'd like to do it or you do enjoy to do it, you get something for it. And the people who do enjoy to do it, I think, will generally be the casuals. So that could be something that they would like, or maybe a casual would like a primal at the end of all the act bosses, which is something that was also shared as a suggestion. I would like campaign to be more rewarding, specifically more rewarding for casuals, and something that you aren't forced into, to make it feel like a game mode that you might actually want to play more than once.
All right, so I'm gonna be your devil's advocate here with the following reasoning. Like, there is no way anyone could ever disagree with you, because the only thing that you just said was, I want to make, campaign be valuable at some point. But, we need specifics. That's why we meet here today, right? We need a specific patch note right now that just straight up makes campaign the way that you want it to be, which is, in your words, valuable. There is no such thing right now that we have or could come up with. That's how I feel. To me, Hadrix is an accelerator in adventure mode, which is usually we just plan out how we get Hadrix, right? It's, so we play, we do like bounties while leveling, we snapshot them, and then, 2 hours 30 into the season, everybody's level 70 and most people already have their sets finished. And it's like you jump from T2 to T4 to T16, and that's it. There's like no in between, really, right? It's like the only time you test T12 is to notice, I still have enough damage, right? Go up, and that's it. So maybe you do like one T12 map, and that's it. And it's just a significant accelerator that I've tried a couple of seasons without starting Hadrix in solo self-hunt, and I liked it because I actually needed to fight T1, T2, T3, T4, and so on. I needed to fight through those tiers to get the sets to further accelerate. So that's like a personal, let's say, vendetta with Hadrix that I have. But that's just me. I'm not sure how do you feel about that one, Deadset? What is your take on Hadrix?
On Hadrix, I can see your point. I just think it's a little too entrenched into player expectations at this point, and Diablo being so mature and late into its life cycle that it would be a hard one to win the people over, having Hadrix move over to the campaign. I have one of my suggestions highlighted in the
go ahead.
episode notes, which is an alternative proposition, I suppose. So what if the reward for finishing the campaign was not necessarily something mechanical like Hadrix, as early game as it is, it's still a mechanical benefit, but what if it's something a little more personalized and cosmetic? And what I'm thinking is, we used to have this personalization of an item in Diablo 2. What if you had the option to just name an item after finishing the campaign, have it be like a one-time use Kanai's Cube recipe? I don't know what the UI implementation would be, but that's the only one that comes up. Like, have the option to one time name an item, have it personalized after you finish the campaign, and it would also have, like in the field for the lore of the item, maybe spell out which season you found it in. This way you'll have something nice to remember a particular season with, and you also have a small incentive to go through the storyline once at least. And certain players, of course, would just blast through it at the end of a season and, have their whatever dagger or item or helm or whatever be named. But it's just a nice little thing, and it's a nod to Diablo 2, which is also pretty cool in my book.
Yeah, so that's an interesting suggestion there. One thing that I don't know if we've explicitly stated about with whatever reward we come up for the campaign, whether it's piece by piece or all at the end, I think we have to remember, at least I'm almost certain it works this way, that you can just get rushed to the end of the campaign, right? So people could just carry you, and let's say you came up with a reward, for example. If you went through the whole campaign, it gives you the set bag that they give you on PTR. It gives you all the sets if you do the full campaign. And, a shitty non-ancient version of all the sets. Casuals would love that. They can put together 5 different builds and try something. But that might be OP because then people can just rush people, kill Malthael, and get everything. regarding his specific idea for personalization, with my own opinion, the reason why that was strong in Diablo 2 is because trading existed. You could personalize it and then trade it, and then it's like, haha, my 1378 Archon Enigma got my name on it. Haha, you're never going to be able to get rid of that. I did it more to antagonize people than to pat myself on the back. But he brought up a point where people, if you find the the crit cooldown socket, choose your element flavor of time primal with physical res. I mean, I would do the campaign to put my name on it and be like, that's right, bitches. But it already is my item. It's only my item because it's Diablo 3, right?
I guess the funny part is if you can personalize it and you can still trade it. Like, imagine that flavor of time dropping, right? And then, like, for instance, I'm playing, let's say I'm in a group with Woody Drew, and he is like, oh, dude, this is the perfect build, item for my end season push thingy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to push end season. So I just, personalize it in, like, big donger play wizard. And then I just give it to him, and then he needs to play it, and it, like, displays on the leaderboards. To me, that's funny. That's value. I would totally sacrifice a personalization like this. Like, make sure it's being seen on the leaderboards, and if people hover over it, it says play wizard. Let's go.
I think the small incentive would be the season engraving. Like, this was found in season X, but maybe it also just inherits not the username, but the character name, so you can make funny stuff. That's also a cool one.
But
yeah,
okay, maybe a quick poll to chat. But who the hell would do campaign just to name an item? Like, I would never waste my time doing that.
Well, hold on. I just thought of something really funny. I don't know if I should say it. I don't know.
Go for it. Go for it. Come on. I'll cut it out. Let's go.
All right, cut it out. So what I would use this for 100% is I would find a yellow item like that has a name like I really shouldn't say this.
Go for it.
I would find a yellow item because they have these names in the game that are called like Big Wood, and you personalize it. Rax's Big Wood, and then you put it into sVr.
You're telling me you wouldn't do a campaign for that?
Yes.
I call BS.
Yes.
Come on. If I found a yellow dagger called Big Wood, I would do the campaign Rax's Big Wood and trade it to sVr.
Easy.
Like that. I mean, I'd be in campaign so fast.
As per usual, I would take it. All right. Filthy, how do you feel about personalization at the end of campaign?
Could we get the number of elite kills on it, maybe? Like at the end of the season?
Oh, okay. Sure. Like how many?
That could be good.
Something like this, yeah. That's
Listen, all these suggestions, at the end of the day, this whole thing started to like force players into campaign.
Correct.
This goes back to you should never have a campaign in a video game.
Ooh,
people do it once.
That's a hot take, dude. That's a super hot take, man. Like a lot of people love immersion and story and all that stuff. I do not. Like I'm one of those guys, skipping everything, go, slay monsters. But man, that's a hot take. Do you actually mean that one? Is that a fluffy statement, or is that a?
Like what?
That does.
You could just have the campaign like built into a one-time adventure mode kind of thing that you just do one time.
That's what it is currently, isn't it? It's exactly that.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
We're trying to make campaign great again, Fluffy.
No.
I mean, it's totally fine. We can talk about this one, and then the consequence can be like, campaign is fine as is. It can be the consequence.
Is there any reward that you could think, like if I said you got like 30 primals for each act, would you do it then?
30 primals for each act.
I'm just wondering what Fluff's breaking point on the campaign is.
Yeah, but so you'd be doing it for the 30 primals, but would you be enjoying
Is that fun? Yeah.
Yeah. No,
yeah, I get you.
I see Fluff's point. Like the campaign has to be a reward unto itself. It has to be a good story that you enjoy. And
I mean, come on, dude. If each quest that you do in a campaign gives you a primal, then I would enjoy myself. I'm not even kidding, dude. Like if I want
experience, like you're gonna go in and you're gonna do that one thing.
Yeah, but then I also sit down and I'm theory crafting my fastest way through campaign and campaign rushing and all that stuff and actual speedrunning and all that is back on the table. Like thinking
do the
about
conquest. Do the speed
run. No matter what we do to the campaign, Fluffy, you're just even if the reward is good and you're doing it, you're never going to enjoy it, no matter what.
I think so as well. I think for Fluff, it's just a lost cause. It's like not doing it.
I don't know. I guess I don't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's fine. Like, that's totally fine, you know? Like, no hard feelings here.
Some people will feel like that. Like, I'm not playing
Right.
campaign even if you give me a GR 150 clear. I'm not doing it.
The thing is, as well, is people got burnt out, didn't they? Because initially in vanilla, there wasn't much else to do, was there? So, you know, there is a fatigue to it.
Rough times.
I guess that would be one. Like, if you could finish the campaign, and for those players that don't want to do 4-man metas, and you get a 150 upgrade on your legendary gem. I don't fucking know.
So maybe it's just as simple as, but the problem there is the exploiting of just people can go in there and just
Right.
and endlessly complete it over and over and over and cheese it that way. Maybe it's every time. Again, I want it to be accessible for casuals, so this maybe wouldn't apply to casuals, but completing the campaign in under an hour, every time you do that, you get 5 gem ups and they're a 100% chance to succeed. But you have to actually do it and you have to actually get it in time. But again, that doesn't really help the casuals, and that's a pretty good reward. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because if you do
but
that
again,
8 times,
it goes back to like, well, you're not really going to be having fun. You're just doing it because the reward's good.
Well, we could boil everything down to you just have to do it. Like, bounties are that to an extent. It could be fun, I think, but it's just not structured in a way that's meant to reward you. And we're really trying to shoehorn something in here. I do get why we want to do it, though. It's an entire game mode that's flushed down the drain. So it's campaign and adventure mode, and one of them just gets shafted. But I don't know. I think it has to be as insignificant and cosmetic and completely optional as item personalization for me to not be annoyed at its existence.
Yeah, and I suppose there's no reward at the moment, is there? So it's like, I don't know, if you poll the player base, it's what, 99% of the time, 99.99% of the time is not spent in campaign. You know,
I think it's higher than that.
Utilized.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. I think the only thing people would ever consider doing is doing the Enchantress quest, which is the spaghetti map, and you have an extremely high chance to spawn pools in there. Like,
and that's only for like the super high end players.
Yeah, that's like the ultra high end of the high end players that do quick pooling sessions in there when they are rotating through. You know, when they run red runs, and one of their reds died, and then they swap to a different red with the exact same gear. With the only difference that guy is pooled, and that's it. And they have 10 different necros sitting on their account, and they're just rotating through them and pooling them, and that's it. Good mechanic, pools. All right, I think this is everything that we had on campaign. Essentially, a sad attempt to revive campaign.
An hour in, we haven't even talked about classes yet.
Correct. Which means we should definitely move on. And the next one is regular rifts, and there is a change suggested here to remove or reduce the frequency to see shrouded moors in T16. That's it. You wanna?
Amen.
Yeah. What is shrouded moors? So for the few people that do not know what shrouded moors is, what is this map? Like, why is everybody hating it so much? Want to go into it? That's it.
Rubbish density. Too big. Easy to get lost.
Yes.
Very inconvenient shape. And the density kills it so bad.
Yes.
I could get over the shape and the size of the map if at least the density was in place, but man.
Yeah,
why is the density just so bad?
I don't know.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So reducing the shrouded more frequency, if that was the patch note line, I would just be shaking my head. That is absolutely not the solution. We need to either remove it, or you need to quintuple the amount of monsters in the map. So those are the only two options.
Yeah. I think since a couple of seasons, people when they farm keys, and mostly when they farm solo, and they open a Tom and 16 Rift, and the first floor is a shrouded moor, a lot of people remake the game.
Yeah,
already in keys. Yep. I do the same thing, right? And if you get it on floor 2 and you're on a monk, you're like, meh, I really don't want to play this because Ingeom will run out, you will not find elites. And the best thing to have on a monk is when you enter the floor, you see it and there's a channeling pylon. And you click the channeling pylon and then you hold down dashing strike to fly through the map, and it's faster flying through the entirety of the map and going to floor 3 than to actually fight monsters on Shrouded Moors. That is how bad it is. So to me, I agree. Shrouded Moors needs to go. That's a pretty quick change for all of us, right?
I just take Shrouded. Forget trying to fix it. Just take Shrouded Moors. And by the way, do not take it out of Greater Rifts. It's a great Greater Rift map, and it has no problems. Only take it out of regular Rifts. It's the worst by far.
Amen to that one. All right, moving on. A pet that picks up Death's Breath. I think that was you, Rex, right?
Me and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Diablo 3. So if I was designing a game from the ground up, which we are not doing right now, but I enjoy having the play be a little bit slower and be more cerebral, right? Like choosing your battles wisely and using your skills well. I mean, for example, I'm playing Torchlight. I mean, at a certain point, it's kind of blazing through the map like everything, but it's certainly not blazing like a dashing strike monk can literally fly through the map, detonating screen after screen after screen, right? So to me, I have accepted that as the state of Diablo 3 speed farming. It's just this insanely fast destruction of maps. And the super fun part about doing that is every time you kill an elite, you get to stop dead in your tracks to click a Death's Breath. And you fly ahead and you click a Death's Breath. I mean, to me, it's just completely non-synergistic with the whole idea of speed farming. And then people might say, well, that's the way to slow it down. That is not the right way to slow it down to me. It's so clunky. It feels terrible. And what my solution is at a certain point, I just stop picking up the DBs even if I need them. Oof. I just go for the Greater Rift key because I just want the XP. So what I eventually stop doing is I stop picking up the DBs. I would love it if we could pick up the DBs. And I think what they did is they implemented the vacuum pickup, which is better than nothing, but only slightly better than nothing. I would really, 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 really appreciate if a pet could pick them up big time.
Where it's a slippery slope. Where you draw the line? Like, we'll pick up Veil Crystals and, reasonable parts while you're at it. And you know what? Actually, just have the character play the riff for you.
So
it's just, I don't think it's a thing that they should look at all.
Okay, so where I would draw the line there is you have to pick up the items. The blues, the whites, the grays, the legendaries, the set items. If you want to pick up an item, that's where you loot. But the currencies with the way that for example, Path of Exile is different, right? Path of Exile has all these different currencies in this intricate system. It's a lot different. To me, Diablo 3 is not like that at all. It's just you vacuum pick up everything already, and DBs are just left there. And I just think I just hate picking them up to the point where I don't even do it, even though they're valuable.
Yeah, I think Path of Exile is not a good example here. There are like a lot of situations where PoE makes you click thousands of items, even though they could drop in a stack. Like once you click them, they stack up in your inventory, but they're still dropped one by one. Like imagine dropping Bloodshots on the ground, and that's like instead of
used to work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having 120 individual clicks on Bloodshots to actually collect them, right? That is something, unfortunately, that PoE does quite often. They fix it quickly, to be fair, but PoE is very click intensive when it comes to looting. So I don't see an issue at all with DBs right now in D3. The only thing that really I hate about DBs in D3 is when you kill an elite and you're already right on top of it and the DBs start dropping and you click on the DBs and then you jump away, but one DB was delayed, so you didn't get all of them. So you pick the first 2 or the first 3, and then the trailing ones, they're staggered and drop, and when you're super fast with the click and you already teleported away, then there's a DB trailing behind, and that really pisses me off. That really grinds my gears. They should all drop at the exact same time, and when you click them, you get all of them, and that's about it. But elsewise, so this specific question, pets for DBs. I was asked that one last BlizzCon. Last BlizzCon, we're having a couple of drinks in the lobby of, what was it, the Marriott. And I was specifically asked this question about how do you feel about a pet that is picking up DBs? And would you like to have it? And I said no. But I also said that I want the staggering to be gone with the DBs. I don't have an issue with DBs. To me, it's fine to stop once in a while and loot some stuff. I'm good.
Now we know whose house to TP.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's like it's my fault. But I guess it's confirmation that they were already thinking about it. So it's not a secret. They're thinking about it, and it might come. Sure. If you guys all feel like this should be the case, we can vote yes, and if we're lucky, it will come at some point.
So you guys were saying pets picking up DBs, but that's not the way we've worded it in the agenda. It says a pet that picks up DBs.
Right,
what if that's like a special one? What if that's the reward for doing the campaign? No, I'm kidding. But what if that's... Did you mean...
I would do the campaign 100%. The only problem with that, Deadset, is it would force people to use that pet.
Yeah,
it's the only pet that does something special, right? It takes out... all the other pets.
Sure. Yeah. But I was wondering, because it's worded a pet that picks up DBs, if you guys meant that it should be a specific one, maybe a high-end reward. But I guess it doesn't make sense, and it goes against all the other pets being in the game.
Filthy.
I
How
guess
do you feel?
Never found much of a problem. So it's not high on my priority list, but I would love a pet like that. I guess.
I suppose picking them up doesn't bother me, but I can kind of see what Rax is saying, because it's not a decision, is it? You always want to pick them up. It's not like you're thinking, maybe I should pick this up, maybe I shouldn't. It's like gold. It's like, bloodshot. You're always going to want them. So, like, PTR does feel nice because you don't pick stuff up and you get to zip through the maps really fast. So, yeah, I'd probably be up for auto DBs. I mean, someone must drop by my stream every day saying, yeah, can we get that as a quality of life? But it doesn't bother me that much. But I would vote yes, but I'm not losing sleep over it.
All right.
Yeah, too much of a slippery slope. Like, if you let that happen, if you let that in, then what about Veil Crystals? What about reusable parts? What about...
That's true. That's the downside.
Yeah.
Without a question. If you start with that one, it's a never-ending list stuff.
Yeah. It's instant next request, isn't it?
All right. So I guess me and Fluff on this one were more on the no side, and the other three guys, Rex, Deadset, and Filthy, you were kind of on the yes side, if I got you correctly, right?
I'm like super on the yes side. Like,
I understand.
Yes.
Fluff campaign levels.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
All right. Then let's move on, and now we're talking about Greater Rifts, and we have a couple of more things for Greater Rifts, and the first one being the option to close a Greater Rift in the same game without having to remake a game. How do you guys feel about that one, and are there any objections?
Best one on it so far.
Must have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess to elaborate for the few people that might be listening to this and are a bit weirded out by this one, Rex, why would you ever close a Greater Rift?
Well, you should close like 99% of them that you open, because they're not a four-corner vile swarm festering woods with 4 pylons and a power for boss and blighter for thorns. No, but well, a lot of times when you are going for your end of the season push, or even when you're key farming and you open a Shrouded Moors map, you open a map and it's just not something that you want to do, and you are willing to throw away the key to open something better. The current state of the game, you have to leave the game, remake the game, walk back over to the obelisk, and then open it again and have everybody, if you're in a group, have everybody check ready again. And then you have to re-empower everything. And then you get to leave that game again and open another one. And it's just an endless cycle of fishing until you get the map that you want. And so the idea is to open a server. And by the way, one thing that also needs to be considered in this is a lot of people have varying latencies on different servers. And every time that you open a new Greater Rift, you might get a new server. So sometimes when you're going through this process, you're in a greater rift, you open a greater rift, you don't like it, you leave, and you open a new game, and all of a sudden, my friend from Brazil can't play on this server. He has 600 ping, and we have to make a new game until we get one that works for him. And there's some things you can do to edit to force you're on a certain server or whatever, but almost nobody does that. So the basic idea is to find a game, stay in the same game, open a greater rift. If you don't like it, step out, close it, and go again.
Mm. So
yeah, it's such bad game design to kind of give players the opportunity to leave and to like break up the monotony, you know what I mean? So just the idea of like that there's still like kind of an instance, it kind of breaks, you know, if you're into lore too, kind of ruins your immersion, if you will, too. Just like you're leaving and recreating the game and then going to do the exact same thing you were doing. Yeah, it's bad. So I think that's definitely something they should look into, or at least definitely tackle with the next iteration.
I also feel like this is kind of a low-hanging fruit. Obviously, if you are very, very casual, you won't ever notice, right? Because kick W, just clear the greater rift, right? Just kill everything and, get the loot. But on, the higher you try to go, the more frequently you will see maps that you simply can't do. Like you lost them already on floor 1. In the first couple of seconds, you already lost the greater rift. So it's better to forfeit and restart again, right? We know that there is the option to close the greater rift, right? Like there is a way you can keep the game instance, but just close the greater rift, right? So if everybody that initiated the greater rift leaves the game and there's still one person in the game, then the greater rift instance closes. So there is a way to close greater rift instances while holding a game. So the technology is there. There's just no option for us to initiate that sequence reliably and with good comfort, I guess, right? So the tech is there. The game knows when to close a greater rift. So it should also be a default option for us to straight up initiate it. Probably at the obelisk, probably with the guy. Is he called Aurek? I think he's called Aurek.
Yeah.
Should be there to make sure that we don't have so much menu time.
Yeah, and another thing you could do, Matt, is you could just, the same way that you start a greater rift, especially in groups, is you could just have a vote to close the greater rift, check, boom, gone. And if you're in solo, I think it would be valuable, just in case there's a misclick, to say, you go to close the greater rift, says, are you sure you want to close this? You sure you want to, you will lose the greater rift key. Are you sure? Boom. And in solo, it would close instantly. And maybe even in groups, it would close instantly because there's no loot, right? Well, I guess let's see. If you close a greater rift at the end, it closes instantly, doesn't it?
It does close instantly. It's boom.
So people lose their loot, like if they're lollygagging on, if the boss is dead and you're closing it legitimately. So there's no reason not to have it close instantly when the vote passes, right? In groups. So it would close instantly. I was going to say you have a 30-second timer to go get your loot, but I don't want that, and it doesn't even give you that anyway currently when you can close the rift. So there's no point to implement that.
I think this can also impact casuals because I'm always jumping into rifts with my T16 gear on by mistake. That happens at least once a stream. So,
yeah. I know these super sophisticated theory crafting sessions where you think about the newest LOD build, you equip everything, and you forgot to equip the LOD gem. It's always the best part. It's you open and then you get shit smacked, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot an important gem here. So for those instances, I guess it would be nice. So I guess we all voted yes with flying colors, right? 100%
Absolutely.
Should happen.
100%.
High quality of life thing, massively reducing menu time. Big thumbs up from casuals and specifically from high-end people, I would say. So that seems like a low-hanging fruit here. Moving on to something that I think Filthy, you suggested that one. Add a guaranteed primal after clearing solo GR 100, 120, 120, and then every 5 moving on. So instead of...
Yeah, I've got a mild primal obsession, so... the more we can get into the game, it's people like getting to 100, like casual players particularly like getting to 100. It's a nice round number, isn't it? And then maybe it encourages somebody to jump from 108 or 107 up to 110. Gives you that incentive possibly. I don't see any reason not for it. So I don't know how everyone else feels about it.
I think that's a good idea overall. I get this question a lot. It's like, hey, sVr, how do I farm primals? And, the short answer is like, yeah, you do your GR70 and you get 1, and then you're leaguable for primals, and that's it. The rest is RNG, so get lucky. So having this incentive for people to go higher, especially like the people that ask me, how do I get primals? Obviously they are kind of new people, likely casuals. So telling them that they should progress higher in tiers is likely something that helps them become better at the game, I suppose, right? It's a nice incentive to like seeing that target and following that one. I think it's something that we don't really have in Diablo 3 right now. So that could be a nice soft incentive to go higher. I like that one.
Cool.
I think it's a great idea, and I would even drop it lower and increment it more. There's plenty of items in the game that an additional primal drop guaranteed at, say, every 5 levels past 70 would not break anything in terms of speed of itemization, barring, insane luck. But then again, you could argue insane luck is part of the game. So yeah, I would go even lower on the suggestion. So start it at 70, where you get the first primal, and then still have it at every 5 levels afterwards. I think it's a lovely one.
So I zoom out here and I look at, again, the issue here. What is the issue that we're trying to address? And the issue is when you progress in greater rifts, there is no real incentive to do it. At whatever greater rift it is, I think it's greater rift 90, the amount of legendaries you get is like the same, so your chance to get a primal is the same, and this adds an incentive to push higher. Another thing that I know could really matter to people that you could implement now, it's a little bit imbalanced between the classes, so there may be some thinking needed on if it needs to be more complicated than what I'll present here. But one thing that matters a lot to people, it's in Diablo 2, and it's very important to a lot of people in World of Warcraft, for example, are titles. So like you become matriarch, patriarch, or whatever in Diablo 2, and in World of Warcraft, if you're riding around World of Warcraft and you have the title Deadly Gladiator, you were a rank 1 gladiator. It's like they instantly know, like, holy shit, I better not mess with that guy. One thing you could do is, like, when you clear a GR 100, you get a title that you can add in front of your name, and then at GR 110 and 120 and 130. I know it really matters to people in the other games. I know it really mattered to me every season I played WoW to become a hero of the Alliance, or if of course, if you play the Horde, or to become a gladiator every single season. I never wanted to be a duelist ever. So that's something else that you could consider implementing that I think would mean a lot to other people and is very successful in other Blizzard games.
Interesting.
Like to piggyback a little on Rex's comment, I would say that the core issue here with this suggestion in particular, I think, is addressing that primals, once you get some experience in the game, are not nearly as exciting as they should be. And you either change what they are at a fundamental level, or you make them a little more present in the game than they are right now. Having this be one of the ways to address that situation.
It could be. I think the difficulty is like primals are obviously so rare. I get super excited when I find them, and obviously 9 times out of 10, 19 out of 20, it just doesn't work. Does it? It's the wrong item. It's the wrong stats. You're turning what is a feel great moment, that 1 in 400 chance drop, and then you're turning it into feel bad moment because it's rubbish, and then you only get 15 forgotten souls. So I just make them more valuable when you're discarding them. I think that could help. That at least then when you find one, you're gonna be excited because it's really usable. So if it's a really high number of forgotten souls or some other reward, or just you don't want this red beam dropping and somebody having a bad experience with it because it's so rare. I think is the point.
So one of the so I agree with this one. Primals, when they are usually bad, obviously, like very often, and you just disenchant them, and all you get is something that you already have quite a lot, which is Forgotten Souls. Do you think it's time to have a separate crafting material, like primal essence dust. And if you have 5 of them and you use the reforge recipe and you put the 5 in there, then your next reforge is a primal.
I'd say only if you've already found that primal. I don't like the crafting of primals. I think that's I'm not sure that's good for the game. But if you've already found a flavor of time, it's primal and it sucks. Yeah, you can turn other primals into dust or whatever, and then you can have another go at that primal flavor of time.
All right, how about I see what you're saying. So you need to first have like the source item dropped in primal, and you can reforge it as a primal again if you have enough primal essence dust. How about that one?
I think for the loot you need something that's only findable. I think that is quite important.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy that you said that, Matt, because I was actually thinking like the same thing. You could drop a primal dust and get 5 of it and reforge an item and get a primal. I think I would turn it back to the game developers and ask them, how comfortable they are. Like Filthy is addressing, it might be too easy to get the right primal there. One kind of middle ground, which admittedly this isn't going to solve a lot of the issues, but it's maybe better than the system we have now, is instead of a primal weapon dropping, instead it's a primal token. And you just take it to Kadala and you right click it over whatever thing it is, like one-handed weapon, and it's going to give you a primal one-handed weapon. Now it's kind of in the middle ground, right? Yours is reforge the specific item that you want. Holy shit, I actually got the primal that I wanted. And right now you're going to get a primal Creed's Flame, and you're going to salvage it for 15 souls that you don't need. This at least lets you somewhat target what you're going for. Now, it doesn't fix the problem of it's going to have all the wrong stats. Maybe you could have primals by default have 2 rerolls at Kadala and give you the token. Or what's her name? Miriam, whatever her name is, the reroll person. But maybe it could drop a primal token that you gamble for, and it's primal in that category.
Fluff, what's your take on the entire primal discussion here?
What are we talking about at this point?
I mean, technically,
like 15 tangents.
Yeah, that's true. So the causal chain here was we started talking about more additional guaranteed primals when progressing in Greater Rifts as a solo player. And then we went from primals, if they fail, should disenchant into something else, or more Forgotten Souls.
You could literally dedicate an entire podcast to primals.
Definitely. What a question.
So I think, to the original point, absolutely. Every 5 GRs, give players a primal, give players a reason to push higher and higher. Why not? It's a great idea.
And what about the
first primals? I could go all day.
So how do you feel about making the ones that you find that are terrible, like more Forgotten Souls or a separate crafting ingredient? How do you feel about that?
Either system that was suggested by Rex and Casual, both are better than the current system. And I'm sure any one of us could sit here and come up with a solution that's better than the current primal system. So changing it in any way, 2 thumbs up.
All right.
And one thing about the primal system that will need to be addressed for sure is when you're increasing the Greater Rift level and you're getting the primal every 5 levels, I don't do that, right? And again, this is maybe a higher level player problem, but I don't clear GR 70 and then 75 and then 80 and then 85. I clear a GR 70, I unlock primals, I do rat runs for 2 days, and then I clear a GR 120 just to increase my blood shard cap, right? So I think if they do something like that, they need to make sure that if you do cross 2 tiers, is it going to give you 2 primals, or are you going to lose out on that? If you lose out on that, I think the casuals are going to be super pissed off.
Yeah, they could
I think
stack.
you get 2. Yeah, you get the 2 or whatever.
I mean, I see what you're saying. There are different solutions to this one. I don't know. Have a bag sent to your inbox. It's a random primal, or
exactly,
or whatever. Like it stacks up, and you build off the stacks over time. Whatever. Yes, not losing out on. Yeah, like having having an unfortunate sequence and missing something, and then having to get less primals due to that one. Let's omit that one. That shouldn't happen. Yes. All right, but in total, I think everybody was kind of in favor of the change to a primal every 5 tiers to specifically like for the high-end players, it really does not matter whatsoever, because you'll later on try to push 140 solo plus, and it doesn't matter to you if you got 8 additional primals on your way, because you grinded for hundreds of hours in prior and got everything already. Those few primals won't be the change here, but it is a really nice incentive for casual specifically. Yeah. Which brings us to the next talking point, which we all will agree on. If somebody is not agreeing, you're kicked. It's remove
will never
doors.
be invited back.
Yes, it's Greater Rifts should not have doors. No doors in Greater Rifts. Right?
And there's no discussion. That's just a fact. Let's go. Let's move on.
Moving on. The next
You get a pet that breaks doors?
pet that breaks doors.
I'm kidding. That's a total joke.
All right.
It's not actually.
I was getting triggered right there.
All right, the next one is that's a hot take one. It's each Greater Rift should spawn 5 pylons, which are spread out, and you're guaranteed for each Greater Rift to get 1 pylon of each. How do you guys feel about that one?
I like
making pylons deterministic.
I mean, I like it. It takes a lot of the fishing out. We talked earlier about opening and closing Greater Rifts, opening and closing Greater Rifts. You're gonna get. I mean, you're always gonna get the 5, so you're gonna get more pylons than you've ever had in a Greater Rift. So everyone, casuals, should be happy. That's all they're gonna care about. Hey, the most you ever got was 4, and now you got 5 every time. They're gonna be happy. And it would be an interesting. It would be an interesting change about, so there's a power pylon somewhere. It's there. So then, okay, if you have to have it for the boss and it spawns on floor 2, it's like, all right, well, conduit didn't happen yet. I got to go floor 3 and zap everything and come back. And it would actually change the way that you play a little bit. And I think it might be in a cool way.
How do you guarantee that? What if there's like 10 floors?
Well, I mean, I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, how would they determine the algorithm for that? That's a good question.
Like, my power pylons on floor 10. Let me go rush floor 10 real quick.
So, I mean, what is it right now? Like roughly every. I mean, it's not exactly this, but every 33% you have a really good chance to spawn a pylon. Sometimes it's more often than that. Sometimes you can get it at the door. Maybe it's something like you balance it out, roughly about every 20% you're going to get one.
I see where you're coming from, yeah.
And we still have the problem of, you don't see them sometimes unless you're a rat.
I don't feel like I've ever missed pylons in solo.
What?
Really.
I actually lost an unbelievable. I would have had an unbelievable clear in, I don't know what season. I think it was season 18, where I finally got the godly thorns clear, and I got Arathon, and I missed the kill by 9 seconds, and just out of frustration, I just ran around the festering, and behind like a little tree, there was a power pylon. Obviously, it was already there before. So I lost the Arathon kill.
Yeah. So that's
how would you know that you'd never missed a pylon, SVR?
I mean,
how would you know that?
Oh, I see where you're going right now, dude. Relax. No, I think it's just knowing where they spawn. Obviously, unless like there's those bugged positions of pylon spawns. You remember the very first challenge rift, Fluff? The very, very, very first challenge rift that we've ever seen. All right, there was a pylon spawn that was off map. And I've never seen it ever in the history of Diablo before. So if you're talking about these pylons, the ones that actually spawn off map, I mean, obviously no way to check them or how they spawn or why they would spawn. No clue, right? But pylon spawns are an incredible amount of experience, right? Having played Zbob for hundreds and thousands of hours, and having played solo pushing for even more, you just get the hang of it at some point. Which means you're naturally going to check them when you need to check them. What Rex already pointed out is like 33%, right? So each percent in progression that you make gives you like a 3% additional chance on the next spot to tickle it and to actually get one, right? So there is a lot of implicit skill that comes to managing your pylon spawns. When you open a Silver Spire and you think about the map layout, you're like, all right, I have the following tile ahead. There are only 2 pylon spawns left on this tile. I need to really make sure to tickle them in between making a lot of progression if you want to have one on this floor. And there's also the other way around where you decide to not have a pylon on this floor, which means you're quickly blocking everything off, coming back to kill the trash, and then progressing into the next floor and attempting to spawn one at the start. And there's like a lot of implicit things that you can do or to make it better than other people. To others, it seems super random, full RNG, and you just stumble into pylons, and if you get to be lucky, you have the correct sequence, good luck. But on the high end, there is a certain level of playing around it and doing it in the right way. Is that a good thing? To me, yeah, that's a skill. I like it. Hence, I don't like this change. And something that Rax,
Okay,
I know that's a hot take.
It's almost an elitist thing to say.
It
like
is.
A player like Rax missed a pylon and it cost him a clear. You know what
That's
I mean? Like,
really unfortunate.
it's
there,
a really hardcore player that you're talking about. So yeah,
I mean,
you
Rax,
might have
would you
it
say,
down.
Rax, would you say that has been a mistake on your end? Like that specific moment there, should you have properly checked?
Well, I mean, it's just I'm bad. It's just that's
Yeah,
all
I
it comes
agree.
down to.
Yeah,
It's all it comes. No, but Festering in particular has so many spawns where a pylon could happen, and there was only this little patch by this tree that I didn't check. I just didn't. I didn't think there was a pylon there, man. And then I saw it after, and I just looked at chat. I was like,
I mean, that's a big F moment. Yeah, I feel you.
It's the end of my career.
the original discussion point from Rax was, obviously if you have the guaranteed pylons, then you reduce the fishiness of a rift, and that's probably an entirely a new discussion altogether.
Yeah,
you could talk about for days.
So that's the next thing that I wanted to. Yeah, that's the next thing that I wanted to point out. It's like it changes the amount of fishing, right? Because now you're fishing for the right sequence. Like right now you're fishing off whether or not you have a power pylon and whether or not you have a conduit, but now you reduce it to, all right, you have 5 pylons and now you need to have them in the correct sequence. So it's a different type of fishing.
I think that's still overall less fishing.
You think?
I would agree. I agree with Matt and Fluffy. I think it's a change, right? It doesn't remove fishing from greater rifts. It's in a different way. Yeah. The way that I see it is a conduit. I mean, it's not always the case, but in general, a conduit on the wrong map is better than not getting a conduit, right? I mean, you can do something with it on practically any map, and in some cases. Again, this only applies to groups. I'm not only thinking about group players, but just as an example, in some cases, you can have somebody click the pylon and everyone's standing at a door ready to go to another pylon, and you can use the conduit on whatever map you want. That's, a neighboring map. I think for the casual players, they will enjoy it because it's very easy to understand. You're going to see all 5 pylons in the Greater Rift. You're going to see one of each. It's very easy to understand, and they're going to be happy at just more casuals, more pylons. They're going to be happy. That's all that they need to hear. Not exactly sure how the elite players would feel. I don't know what the response would be. It would be a change, and I think it would be slightly less fishing. That's my opinion.
So I think we can all agree that this is definitely a change for the casuals, right? High-end players, I guess some would say yes, some would say no. Hard to estimate. But for casuals, it's definitely a good change. And usually I'm always, so even though I personally dislike the change, I'm always up for for changing things for the greater good of the community. And this is a change for the greater good of the community overall. So on that end, it's a yes.
I'm siding with Rax, even if it's just to shake the way you think about a Greater Rift a little bit. So I see Matt's points about the skill involved in managing pylon spawns, but maybe it's time we move past that a little bit.
Sure.
You mentioned having new players and casuals being happier with the extra pylon and having that guarantee that they will see them. Of course, that shifts the meta to having sequences of pylons be what you're after at this point, but it would still be interesting, and it would change the way even the hardcore crowd thinks and approaches Greater Rifts. So in that sense, it's even just as a fresh change to the game, maybe something that's good to have from now on. I would be behind it for sure.
Filthy, you've been very silent on this topic.
I mean, I think it's hard to counter any argument that. Sorry, say Fluffy, but you said Filthy. But anyways, I'm going to interject. I think it's hard to counter any argument that is in favor of reducing fishiness of risks at the end of the day, and that's really what this is about.
Yeah, I think from the casual point of view, the nail's on the head, isn't it? You know, more pylons. Nobody's gonna argue with you, are they? Not gonna say no. Please don't give me more pylons.
True. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, indeed.
We have enough pylons. We don't need any help. They want 5 clones per Greater Rift next season. sVr. Think about it like that.
Yes. All right.
We need 5 minutes of clones.
Is there anything else you guys have on Greater Rift that you guys want to mention? Else we'll move on and talk about Challenge Rifts a bit.
So one thing, this is just like a general super blanket statement that I think hopefully we can all agree on is, out of all the game modes, Greater Rifts are like by far the most valuable, right? They give you all of your experience, all of your Paragon levels, like the best way to get a shitload of items. It gives you 1,000,000 blood shards. It gives
Legendary
you your gems. It gives you your augments. The one thing, just as a general comment, that I would be okay with if Greater Rifts weren't the end all be all. In my stream, I have a famous saying. The answer is Greater Rifts. What's the most efficient? Greater Rifts. What should I be doing? Greater Rifts. How do you make baby stop crying? Greater Rifts. How do I make a cake? Greater Rifts. It's Greater Rifts. If you're doing anything but Greater Rifts, pretty much any of the time you're doing it wrong. I would also be in favor, as a general statement, either to lift up the other game modes or to, I don't know if Greater Rifts need to be nerfed, but at the minimum for like Diablo 4, I hope there's not just one game mode that we're all blasting that's by far the most efficient, where you really don't do anything else for any other reason.
So as a follow-up on that one, there have been a couple of discussions on last BlizzCon and the previous one about why we are only playing Greater Rifts and nothing else. And the team has expressed that they really want us to do other things as well. And at some point we got Challenge Rifts, right? Which was, they had high hopes for Challenge Rifts to fill that spot where we actually do something else besides, Greater Rifts. But we didn't. And so, yes, it would be nice if there would be other incentives that we can do. Other ARPGs do a very good job on this one, where there's a very high amount of player agency, where you can decide, tonight is the night where I do, activity X. And activity X is totally different than activity Y. You're still slaying monsters, but you're playing a different metagame, essentially. You're playing a different system, and it's very enjoyable. We don't have this here, obviously. Would be something nice for D4, I suppose, right? I guess nobody.
Opportunity though, like Rifts and Greater Rifts are such a great base game to expand on, and it's just so disappointing that it never was.
Which brings us to a different game mode called Challenge Rifts. And Challenge Rifts, as we talked about, get introduced a couple of years ago. Did they come with the Necro? Was it with Necro? I actually don't remember when we got Challenge Rifts. At some point we got Challenge Rifts. And unfortunately, we only had one iteration of Challenge Rifts. They never further iterated on it. We never got changes to it. So what are the things you guys would change about Challenge Rifts, if at all anything? I'll start and say, when you kill an elite and it drops the globes, either those globes should always be at the exact same point, like it was an original clear, or you should just get the progression immediately. Having, you go to the first elite, you kill it, it's like, I got bad globes, new game. And you're essentially fishing for globe spawns to be good enough to have a chance on the Challenge Rift leaderboards seems ridiculous to me. So that's one thing I would like to change.
Yeah, the problem with the globes spawning in the same spot is, so again, this is not going to make any sense to any casual players, never going to pay attention to any of this, but all the logic that Matt was talking about how pylon spawns in Challenge Rifts don't apply to when you do them, because the runner may have taken a different path than you and spawn pylons in this impossible sequence. So just to piggyback off of that, because the original runner had a completely different there's no way, even if you saw his clear, that you could mimic it. Spawning in the same area would not work. Maybe the solution there is just to give every challenge drift character 40-yard pickup radius, because
Hmm.
trying to surgically pick up the orbs with these 0 pickup radius. I mean, if I see one build next season and I do the challenge drifts on both the regions or 2 of the regions, if I see one character that didn't put their Paragon points into the pickup radius, I'll just stop there. I'm gonna be mad. Let's just say that. But another thing about the challenge rifts, which is kind of funny, I'm not really sure if it needs a change, but another thing that maybe a lot of people don't know is a couple of the higher end tactics are to like build resources or build stacks before you start the challenge rift every time. Like, so you build Fury, for example, in the Whirlwind Bar build. I think it was on EU a couple weeks ago, where you were starved for Fury. Well, starting with full Fury on the mobs before every single attempt actually made a gigantic difference.
Oof.
Another thing about challenge rifts that a lot of people don't know is a lot of times it's extremely valuable, like on a keeps map or on a a Temple of the Firstborn, to go into a room and destroy all the beds and all the benches to get the
Yeah.
speed boost for 1 minute. And sometimes you'll break the same number of objects and get a completely different speed boost. Sometimes it's 40 seconds, sometimes it's a minute, and it's a wipe if you get a 40-second speed boost.
Yeah, that's a
But
crazy
that,
one as well. That's a crazy
yeah.
one as well.
So that's very another thing that is a huge difference is where the monsters are pathing. For example, in last week's challenge rift with the monk, the very last elite that you killed before the boss was burrowing leapers. You could be on the greatest run of all time, and like 30% of the time, if even one of them is burrowed into the ground, you lost because you're sitting there for 5 seconds. So that's a lot of rambling. I'll stop there. But one thing about the challenge rift is a simple thing. With the reason why people don't spend time on it is because it's not rewarding to complete it more than once. If they implemented some kind of system where there were different tiers or different rewards, or they gave you a reward if you got top 10 or something, or you get a reward for top 5 and then 6 to 10 and then 10 to 21 or something, I think a lot of people would enjoy it, and it would be much more of a challenge and a competition than, and I'm sure that that's what they originally set it out to be.
So I think the issue here is it's like a lot of it, isn't it? It's underutilized game mode, as in they wanted people to play it, and we just don't play it. So I do it every single week, and I just do it to complete it to get the mats. And I think part of that is a lack of reward. So obviously, if there was more in that, then that would be better. I think it would have to be kind of a bit of a bigger reward and maybe tiered or something like that, because obviously for the guys going for the top 10, obviously that would be super cool. It'd be really interesting, but that's still gonna 99% of the player base aren't going to go and try and get top 10 in the challenge rift. It's just going to be inaccessible. So if you're wanting the vast majority of the player base to play this, then that tier needs to either be quite deep, or maybe there needs to be some kind of reward for beating. Maybe you get a reward for clearing it, and then every time you improve your time by 10 seconds, you get another challenge rift bag, or something like that. Again, just incentivize people to actually play the mode, I think.
So that's a good idea, Filthy. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here for 1 second, which is the only point here is, yeah, you'd purposely suck, right? I'd sit there at the boss until, okay, 11 seconds better than my time, boom, cleared, go again. 11 seconds better than that time, I could get many challenge rift bags in an
Would
hour.
be a pretty good season start, I would say. Right?
I didn't get Blood Tide Blade. I'll just roll again.
Yes, exactly. Just do it 20 times, 30 times. Like,
Yeah, to back up, I mean, I think that challenge rifts are another big missed opportunity in Diablo 3. I think that
they are, yeah.
Yes.
One of the things that is a gleaming missed opportunity, I think, is to highlight builds, actual builds, that like a casual player would never probably think about creating. So like they could arbitrarily pick some build from Diablo fans, and that's an actual thing that someone thought out and thought through, and a player could automatically get that gear and go try the build and know if they want to build that out themselves in their own time. Like, that was, to me, one of the biggest opportunities they could have had with challenge rifts that was totally missed. And two, to touch on what Rax said, the competition aspect. Like, obviously, it maybe if they picked the rank 1 clear from the previous week for X class, and then everyone could try to at least get a taste of what that would feel or look like. Obviously, they would end up beating it in the long run because it'd be a static experience for them. But like maybe if there was, a mini competition within that to like continually play that player's clear, and get like top 10 or something like that, maybe that would be a competitive play. But the fact that it is a static thing versus a dynamic thing, like it was originally, kind of lessens, I guess, the competition factor to me a little bit. But yeah, the rewards ultimately would be the problem there.
And one important thing I think to touch on, like what Filthy and Fluffy are saying, is you can have more rewards beyond the top 10, right? You can have a great reward for first. I mean, you should get something great if you get first, whatever it is, 5 bags, 10 bags. But you can give a reward all the way to the top 100. And if you, I mean, there's not that many. I mean, hopefully the interest would increase, right? But you don't have to be a world #1 player to get top 100 in the challenge rift. And it could be an obtainable goal, and you could get something for it, an extra bag or something. And it might be enough to incentivize people to do it. And a lot of people don't like to do bounties, right? And it's a way for you, it's the only other way in the game for you to get that material. So I wouldn't even be upset if they increase the rewards pretty significantly just to highlight the game mode. I don't think that would break anything at all. And some people, I make the challenge rift guides a lot, and people say, I will never do bounties. I won't do them, but I will do the challenge rift. And some people are the opposite. Some people hate the challenge rift and will do bounties all day.
Yeah, I will do bounties. That's just me. But I would be interested in having a better challenge rift system, something that actually brings me to challenge rift, even if it's just the sake of, like Fluff said, trying a top 10 build that I cannot be asked to actually gear out, augment, play the half the season, just to then notice I don't like it. So that is definitely something that is intriguing to me. Do you guys believe we should have something like a tiered system where you do the first challenge rifts, each week, which is the standard one that you have right now? You get the challenge rift back, and then you unlock the next stage of a challenge rift, which would be, let's say that one is a top 500. If you do that one, you get another challenge rift back, and then you get a top 10 clear. You get the third stage, and that one is the challenge rift of a top 10 clear. And that will be very, very, very hard to execute for a lot of casuals already, because it's likely a build you've never played before. And the top 10 clear, you need to execute it properly. You can't just mash your buttons and go through it, right? The question is, how big should the reward be, and is it even something that we'd want? How do you guys feel about? It
had to be so massive, because there's no reward for grinding challenge rifts whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So let's assume there is a let's just play Oracle here. Let's assume there is a perfect reward for it. We've already figured this one out. Would you still be in favor of having the chance as a third stage challenge rift that people need to play a top 10 rift?
How do you envision the stages executing? Like, is it subsequent clears of the same challenge rift, or is it just automated?
It's different. It's different challenge rifts, actually.
Oh, it's a different challenge rift.
It's the same class. Like, first is the Witch Doctor as per usual, some random build. Second one is a top 500, and last stage is a top 10 clear. Could be a different build, but same class. And an action rift that happened.
So my first thought on that idea was I don't think Blizzard would go for that, and the reason why is they have to do more work, right? They have to every week they have to make multiple challenge rifts.
Wait, but challenge rifts are not picked manually. It's a system that picks it.
Yeah, it's automated. This is one of my biggest problems with it. That there's so little curation to it. There's so little handcraft involved in the whole thing.
Don't get me wrong, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. But I'm asking for an automated system here. So the only cost for Blizzard would be actually changing it to a free tiered system, and then it randomly picks a top 10 clear for the last stage.
So I am the concept of it sounds good. The concept sounds good.
But
the implementation sounds really, really hard to me. It sounds really hard. And let me tell you a couple reasons why. First of all, a top 10 clear is a moving target, right? Are you talking about the end of the week rankings. Like if you're unlocking it, if I can do a challenge rift and get first instantly, I just log in and I don't even look at the thing, and I look at the skills and I log in and I blast it, and I'll be rank 1. I'm the only person on the leaderboard, but I'm rank 1. What would happen then? There aren't 500 people that have attempted it. So
do you mean pulling people off the leaderboard sVr? So isn't like using the seasonal leaderboard and
Yeah, so
replay their rift?
Unfortunately, I didn't understand Rex's issue with the system at hand. I'm sorry. Like, I just...
Okay. No, it's okay. So Monday comes, the challenge rift is unlocked. And I log in at 4 p.m. That's when it goes. And I clear it. I'm the first person on NA to clear it, and I'm rank 1. What would happen?
I mean, nothing. You succeeded the challenge rift. You beat the time, hence you unlock the next stage. Now you get to play the second stage. It's inconsequential what rank you got.
Oh, okay. Because I thought what you unlocked was determined by what rank you were.
Oh, no. It's just you beat the timer and you're leaguable for the next stage.
Oh, okay. So I didn't understand.
Then you need to clear the next stage, which is a top 500 clear. So you need to give a bit more thought into what you're doing. And if you manage to do that one, you beat the timer, you go into the next tier. And the last tier is pretty hard.
So this is the part that's confusing me. Okay.
Sure.
So on Monday I log in. I have the first stage. I clear it. I beat the time. I unlock the second stage. When you say it's a top 500 clear, what does that mean on the second stage?
Oh, sorry. It's a Greater Rift that was played from the previous week at some point, and it's a top 500 clear when it's selected the rift.
Oh, you're grabbing. Oh, the other stages are grabbing.
Oh my God!
See, previous.
Yes, correct. Actual leaderboard clears from the actual leaderboards. Proper builds, and they get hard.
I only got it now as well. It's okay.
My bad, dude. There was some communication issues here.
Oh,
I see what you're saying now. That makes perfect sense. Why you had issues? Yeah, no, you're not.
I think that helps with Fluff's suggestion, doesn't it? Because everybody gets the casual rando one that is just some crap slammed thing. Then we move on to somebody who's put a proper build together, and then you move on to a really high end one.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna, maybe that. So Fluff saying we want more builds and do some of them properly, because it is a bit annoying sometimes when you get the complete rando stuff.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is you run into like you're just sampling meta.
Yeah.
Sure. You narrow the scope of builds that you'll try out a great deal this way.
Yep.
True.
What I would love to see is completely just handcrafted out there builds. It would take some amount of developer time to construct one, I guess, if it's not something that's left up to the community, which I imagine it wouldn't be. But at least in my head, having so many builds go in front of my eyes throughout the years, like it takes so little time to construct something that might be nonsensical meta-wise, but it would be fun for a challenge rift. And I would just love to see more curation and more handcrafted things be what challenge rifts become. The challenge rifts from now on. It's just I envisioned challenge rifts to be something so much more developer focused rather than just a system that comes up with something random every week, to be honest.
Okay, so how about this as a solution for challenge rifts to try to combine a lot of these ideas together? So Blizzard sets up a build that highlights a play style that they would like people to see, and so that's going to be work for them, or maybe they can have someone from the community do it. So that time is set, whatever, it's always set at like 6 minutes, right? Then what they could do is one of them, or they could grab someone from the community. Let's say they have like a pretty good player try it for like 5 tries, 10 tries, nothing crazy. And maybe they get it all the way down to 3 minutes. And when they tried it 5 times. So they release it on Monday. It's this selected build that's pretty cool that they want to highlight. And then you have 3 stages. Just clearing it in 6 minutes, you get the cash. Then you have an advanced time, which is halfway between the elite player's time and, halfway between 3 and 6. and so what, 4.5, and then you get another reward if you cross that. And then if you beat the elite time, if you keep going and you can beat, that good player trying it 5 times, then you get a much bigger reward. And then at the end of the week, you get an additional reward if you placed anywhere in the top 100, and they can schedule whatever reward system they want. Because that they would only have to craft one build and like set some different times for that, and they could highlight a specific build, and then there's very easily, I hope, easy to implement and measurable tiers that you could cross. You would get a reward for that, and then you could also get a reward at the end of the week for how well you place compared to other people.
So I like the system. I think I would be okay with it, but just so creating a build and like running the challenge rift over and over, like being the one who sets the timers, right? Like this is essentially where it all comes down to. Somebody needs to define a build and then run it and then set like the elite time, right? And then the bottom time and then the time in between, right? I don't think they would want to invest weekly time to do it. And
Sure.
the next thing is, so this is like some manual work for each week. It's like, for the entirety of the future of D3, if you apply the system right now and change it to the system, then that means for the entirety of the future, you need to actually cater to the system each week, which, I'm not sure they would want to do it. But the bigger issue is, I believe you, Rex, that you could do it. Like you could create some build, blah, 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 run it a couple of times, and then you could set like a challenge rift that would be enjoyable for everyone. And that's because it's easy to you. Just because it's easy to you, I don't think it's easy for them to do it.
What if they got volunteers from the community to do it for them?
Yeah, dude, I will make a wizard build that has no attack skills.
They would never do that though. Like they could literally get a volunteer
Yeah.
to like spreadsheet leaderboard data and be like, oh well, Tragul needs a 1000 buff next season. Like they would never do that. So that's out.
Well, I mean, never say never. I mean, if people are trying to make the game great and they have a good idea, I mean, maybe it's something you could do several weeks in advance, right? It's not like, hey, buddy, help me set something up the day before, and I hope everything goes well, and give me the times. It's something that you'd have worked out way in advance. But I think people's enjoyment of the game mode would go up tremendously.
How about we do the challenge rift as it is? So we get the rando one. If you beat it by whatever extra time, so you've got like a minute left to spare, you then unlock these 3 extra challenge rifts, like sVr said, which you just pulled from the leaderboards the previous week. Sub 500, 250, and top 50. Obviously, it would get very meta-y, but then you've got 2 previous challenge rifts, so it's only if you want to play the meta, you go on to challenge rifts 3, 4, and 5. And obviously, hopefully, at some point we get diverse builds and we end up where the leaderboard just doesn't look like God DH from 1 to 1000. So, and then we get to try some different, casuals get a bit more of a flavor for what is top of the leaderboards, maybe.
I mean,
we should, like, these are all great ideas, but like we haven't even made it to the classes yet, and like instead of suggesting solutions, maybe we should like focus on.
We might have to make that a separate episode because
no worries.
It's probably gonna be a separate
I
episode.
put a whole thing together.
I know.
Damn it.
Press F on time management. But like final summary and final feelings on challenge rifts, I think we can all agree
They suck.
They suck right now. Because they have never been iterated on. Like they've been released and that's it. Right? There's been a lot of feedback on challenge rifts, and they were never iterated on. It's such a great idea that can be like it's right now it's in raw diamond, and we can make it a real diamond, and that would be amazing, right? It's a good idea that just needs a little bit of help, I feel. So if you guys could decide, like each one of you, in a couple of sentences, what would you do to challenge rifts right now just to get to the next iteration? It doesn't have to be better per se, it doesn't have to be the perfect solution, but what would you do right now just to iterate on it? Rax, go first.
I mean, just a real quick thing to slap together. Take 20% of the original runner's time off and call it an elite time, give an additional reward, and give some kind of reward system at the end of the week for top 100. Tier it however you want, and I would tier the rewards to be a little bit on the higher side than the lower side. You can only do it once a week, so draw people to the challenge rift. If it's too much, then nerf it later. But make challenge rifts great again.
That's it.
Handcrafted builds for sure. Definitely off-meta stuff. I would love to see that because it will never make it to the Greater Rift leaderboards. Scale the rewards better, and yeah, I would say don't bother with different stages and handmade runs to determine the times. Just make them percentage-based, as Rax just suggested. Have the builds be just executed better through someone who understands the game. Either that's voluntary work or a developer's time, but man, it could be so much better. Initially, I thought challenge rifts would replace greater rifts as the means to compete. Boy, was I wrong.
Fluff?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way you can make challenge rifts like a grindable thing because there's no reward for doing it. So I'm not sure that it's just kind of a failed design. I don't think you could ever really make it competitive unless just the rewards are just insane. So I think it should just be a very casual thing, a community highlight of a particular build, and it's an actual build. And casuals get to try out a build that might not have ever been played before. So it'd be cool to see, like, P-Child on the launcher, come test his Necro build XYZ. That you can find the whole build guide on Diablo fans here. Like that's I think what it probably should be.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, like that. Yeah, just more rewards, make it better somehow. Hand-picked builds, definitely.
All right. And in the next section, we're talking about general changes to classes and items that we're going to see. As Fluff was pointing out, we're running a bit short on time. So I'll ask you guys to pick one thing for any class. Like, just pick one line that if you could, it will make it to the next patch. Like, you can decide what is it going to be. Like, what is the one thing that if you guys could pick it, do it. Like, I'll go ahead with mine. Delete Deathwish right now. This is the one thing that makes Wizard, Wizard is still, even after this current patch, in kind of a weird spot. We've seen a lot of nerfs to Wizard, and this was an attempt to really make Wizard viable again. Still have to see about Twister mechanics and what we end up with the final Twisted Sword iteration, but Deathwish is still a significant issue. Wizard has to, before it gets really better on Wizard, it needs to get a little bit more worse. And I feel like Deathwish needs to get baked into the Talrasha set and make Talrasha the dedicated channeling Meteor set, and that's about it. That's my takeaway on Deathwish. Is there anyone strong in favor or against it? How do you guys feel about Deathwish right now?
I
like
defer
that.
to
I like the
Matt's
set.
expertise on Wizards. Sorry, Fluff.
Fluff, what do you think?
No, I mean, I like the idea that, of refocusing the set to be like a channeling. I don't mind that, but who cares about Wizard ultimately at the end of the day?
Yeah, Talrasha Meteor is I've loved playing that in the past. So yeah, if we can make that come back, I'm definitely in favor of that.
That's it.
Agreed. Yeah, we've talked about that in previous casts. But,
that's true.
Your Deathwish changes are considered. And
I think we talked about this one in episode 1 and 2. Right?
Yeah.
So it's been around the discussion in the community. All right, Rex, what is the one change across all classes and items? The one thing you would get away with just changing it.
The biggest miss to me in all of Diablo 3 is that revive is not used for a necro.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the biggest miss, and I learned on a different podcast that we had that it's one of the things that they put the most effort into. I really would love them, when they get the balancing changes, something on their agenda. I would love to see revive used in some way, some cool way in Diablo 3. If I could have nothing else, I'd go for that.
Yeah, that's the Rathma rework, 100%.
Oh, you would actually... that's actually cute.
Ooh, that's a good idea, because Rats are so good, and Rathma is just dwarfed
You would never play Rathma after LOD, ever.
So you could rework that. That's it. That's rework Rathma as a revive set. That's it. That's really good.
That's probably it. Yeah, it's a good solution.
That's really good.
I like that. I like that. I've never seen that one before. That's a good point. Fluff, what is your change? What
Well, I
is
mean,
the one
you've
thing
never
you would
seen it
get away
before.
with?
There's a giant post on the Necroforums of exactly what I do to the class, and that's up there.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
now
the
you get to pick
biggest-
one thing. Exactly
know.
one thing. But good cross promotion. I like it now. What is it?
God. I mean, Pestilence is probably my favorite. So, I mean, Pestilence needs toughness. It needs damage. But there's like a limit on how much damage you can give it because it would just become like the staple RGK. So I don't know if you need to maybe throttle that damage against an RG or against single target or something. But God, it's so hard to pick just one thing. Obviously, the Necro sets all need love, but F
You can't pinpoint
whole
it to
thing
one thing. All right.
to talk about. But
Just complete necro rework, make everything good.
Necro.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. What is on your short list? What's the one thing, Filthy, that if you could get away with it, what would it be?
I've always found Wizard quite difficult to speed farm with. I'd say probably that's been the hardest one, coming up with the builds to make them fast. And I would steal/borrow from the Necromancer. So an item like Stuart's Greaves. So after you cast Teleport, you move for 100% extra move speed.
I mean, we have the
And-
Illusionist passive. That's 30% movement speed after teleporting.
Yeah.
30%, 100%, same, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I guess we could buff that one. Yeah, Illusionist buff. Sure.
Yeah, or the passive. Change the passive, yeah.
Mhm,
I've
to
never
100.
heard SCR say Wizard already has enough.
Yeah.
First time I've ever heard him say that.
I mean, I said it during Bazooka times. You were not at BlizzCon, but I was a strong advocate of getting Bazooka nuked. It got bazookat, so I'm happy. I was happy at that point. It's all good. When it's reasonable, I will also ask for the Wizard Nurse. It just has been a long time since then, right?
And Kane's Belt. That'll be popular.
Kane's
for the
belt.
Kates.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
something for the Necros, right? Necro cannot cross over Kane at all, right?
No, feels bad.
So Kane's belt to get extra keys on Necro, sure. Why not? Should be fair. Seems fair. Seems fair, right? That's it. What's the one thing?
Greatly multiply the damage bonuses of the numerous phalanx items that we have for Crusader. It's such a signature thing for Crusaders, or at least it was on release. Let's see where it ends up with some huge, hefty damage bonuses slapped onto it, and also make phalanx last forever through the Baleful Remnant. There's already a phalanx dedicated flail in the game, so yeah, my Crusader love should shine through that, and I would love to see phalanx be something again, just as Feast of the Heavens is now with the Valor set.
All right. Then we move on to the last section for today, which is Miscellaneous. I think Rex had a very strong opinion about certain elite affixes. I'm not sure how many people actually regularly watch Rex on Twitch. You should definitely do so, especially when you see him push solo. There's this one affix that he loves the most. What is it, Rex? Which one is the one that you don't want to see?
It's got to be Waller.
Yeah,
Waller's the absolute worst.
Walls everywhere.
Waller's worse than Is this a joke?
He really
Waller's
like.
worse than
no.
Juggernaut?
Have you never seen Rex play? It's like sick.
Have you ever played a God DH and had a wall come up?
Have I ever played a God DH? A Mega Lol?
So yeah.
No, Juggernaut's so much worse than Waller.
Yeah, Juggernaut's terrible. You can't pull it. You can't apply a ton of the damage buffs to it. And then people are like, well, Rax, you just want to run over every elite 5-head and just crush everything? It's like, well, kind of. I mean, I don't want them to be that bad. Wormhole affix teleports you even though you're CC immune. Have fun playing Tempest Rush on that one. Spinning, building your flurry. Oh, Wormhole later, even though you have Epiphany up. That's a lot of fun. And Waller needs to be removed from the game. There's obviously everyone in the world understands that. And why? For the thousands of different reasons. It's the worst.
I mean, it's like an annoying mechanic, but I don't know. it's kind of part of Diablo. It's,
Yeah,
it's
I
not like
also don't
Juggernaut in the sense it's just like immune to stuff, and you can't get your proper damage multipliers off on it, and it
I mean,
like
yeah,
ruins your play
that's.
style.
I mean, it's much more the second thing, right? It just ruins. I mean, one way to say it is, yeah, it does these little things, and you don't get some attack things. Or another way to say it is, it completely ruins everything, which is
To be
much more
fair,
how I. I mean,
Juggernaut
I have
is
to.
yeah, but Juggernaut is one of the few elite affixes that actually changes how you play the situation. And that is so strong in terms of you need to react to it immediately, right? It's like you need to actually change your moment to moment gameplay when you see unfortunate walls for you right now. And it's like, wormhole, well, if you're unlucky, you'll, tumble into it because you didn't see it and you got teleported, right? Frozen, kick W, you're CC immune. Unless you're a witch doctor, you never notice frozen really, unless the ticks are so hard that they actually kill you. Like there are so many elite affixes where you're like, whatever, right? So you're like, come on, dude, I don't care too much. And Walla is definitely one of the ones where you need to immediately react, right? It's like, you must do something else right now, or you eat the walls, or
But like, does
so
any
I'm
other class
okay.
get hit like the Necro does against Juggernaut? Really? Because we are so
Mhm.
reliant on Crispin.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're definitely Necros are definitely the class that cry about Juggers the most, which it's the hardest hit for you
Fun
guys.
suckers of Diablo, the Juggernaut.
Indeed.
Holy shotgun Crusader.
Yeah, with the bracers.
Yeah.
True. It's also reasonable. Yeah. But that's, only one build essentially, and Crispin's is like in every Necro build in existence. It's like you can't build a Necro without a Crispin. You can try, but then maybe you can do T16 and that's it. So yeah. I guess so how do you guys feel about the wormhole affix? You can only get wormholed. Sorry. If you are CC immune, you can no longer get wormholed. How do you feel about that change? Because right now you're sitting in a sanctuary, support monk is supporting you, and you get just wormholed out sometimes.
I just think it doesn't align with the rest of the game. This is not going to mean anything to casuals. I would never expect them to understand that.
True.
But I would. This is only high end play. But the fact that the point of the sanctuary, the point of the CC immune is to be CC immune and do your build,
Yeah.
right? But wormholes, the one exception, is going to send you flying across the map. It just doesn't. Yes, it is annoying, and I just don't want it to happen. But it also just doesn't seem right. I just got CC'd while I'm CC immune. Doesn't make any sense.
It's
Is it
inconsistent
CC
for
though?
sure. Yeah. It's a form of displacement.
It is a form of this.
CC.
I mean, yeah, it is.
How?
I mean, displacing a monster is knocking it back, and knockback you can only do it if they are not above 60% DR. So
It's not really a knockback though.
I mean, displacing monsters is triggering a knockback on them, yes, and so does it. Also, it's also on players. So if you were to test it in Brawl, you'll notice the same thing there.
Are you saying
I
that you want
argue
to be
about
wormholed, Fluffy? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yeah, just get good. Just dodge it, dude. Right?
Just
Easy. It's, all right.
No, I mean, yeah, it's one of those like annoying things, but I don't know. Is it game breaking? I don't know.
The game breaking one is Waller. We already discussed that. Everyone knows to remove that. That's the worst.
All right. The next, so anything else on Elite FXs? I think we said everything we wanted to say. The next one in line is Kadala, and changes to Kadala, and one of the most requested one is to be able to gamble at Kadala from a different point of view. Meaning there's like a drop down, you are on a wizard and you select, hey, I want to gamble for necromancers. So you select the necromancer and then you can gamble from the point of view of a necromancer. How do you guys feel about that one? So right now you can gamble the class specific offense, and if you want to gear up a twink, then you could gamble already for that class. Quite often right now people log out, switch character, log in, and then they need to gamble on the character from that point of view. So how do you guys feel about that change?
If we could get it, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
It's super annoying when that happens, but obviously there is a potential other fix. But I mean that's the convenience, isn't it? It makes getting other cross class items as well, like Witch Doctor pants. You just put it to Witch Doctor, roll trousers.
I'd love to see it. No other thoughts about it. It would be a great change, quality of life.
I think that there are so many things that would be priority for me over this that spending dev time on it is a kind of a zero.
It is a purely quality of life. It does nothing really for you if you only want to play Necro thing, yeah. If you only play one class, then sure. If you don't need to level twinks and play other classes, then it does nothing for you. But it's a common request. It's a nice quality of life change. How do you feel about that one,
Leaderboard
Ryan?
filter.
Leaderboard.
Yeah, if they could implement it, it would be great. It's obviously going to help the game and not really hurt it, right? Unless casuals are a little bit confused about if they accidentally pick the wrong class and wondering why they're never getting loot for their class. That'd be the only drawback. I don't think that's going to happen. So it would be nice if we can get it. I'd rather have some of the other stuff that we talked about, but if it's easy, I'd love it.
All right, which brings us to the last discussion point of today, which is the separation of Hedric's gift between softcore and hardcore. Right now, if you gain a Hedric's gift on softcore or on hardcore, you cannot get it on the other mode anymore. To me, that's very reasonable. How do you guys feel about that one? Like, I personally do not play softcore and hardcore. I only play softcore, so I don't mind, but I hear it regularly from other people that they would like to also try hardcore, and they would be more open to trying hardcore if they would also get a Hedric's gift on hardcore.
I think there's twofold there. Like, one, absolutely, because I remember trying hardcore for the first time and being surprised when I didn't get another Hedric's gift, because it's like, wow, how is that the same? Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And two, I would argue even for like that your character would roll into just it's on season. Like, your hardcore seasonal character would roll into seasonal when it died, because then like so many more people would probably try hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, simple. I think it's a good change. I don't usually play both. We'll play one or the other, almost always softcore. But if I was going to play both, I would really prefer to have a Hedric's gift on both. So why not?
Yeah, it's effectively like playing different accounts, isn't it? You know, as in that you don't get to take anything over. It's a completely different game mode. So I don't see there's any reason for not having it, really.
Same here. Lovely change. Incentivizes people to try out the other mode, essentially. Playing more. It's always a good thing in my book.
And one thing, I don't know if we had it on our list, but maybe one final topic we could squeeze in, Matt, is what about followers? And the fact that they don't do anything other than give us an Oculus free.
I mean, yeah, followers, sometimes they pull for you and sometimes it's not a good pull, right? With SF Johan, and you get an Oculus and sometimes you get damage reduction. Followers, yeah, they are, I guess, a big topic, but what exactly would you do? Like, what's the patch note you have in mind that makes them good?
Delete them.
Well, so I don't know about deleting them, right? And you'd have to like, so without making anything too complicated, the one, if I could only make one change to followers, is a follower goes to where you banner.
Sure.
I like that.
That's really good for the Enchantress. And it makes the Templar easier to control, even though he's already very well controllable, which is also, once again, player skill.
I was going to say, a lot. I know exactly what you mean by that, but there are not many players that would.
Yeah, I understand.
No players outside of the elite community that would agree with that. I don't think.
That's true. That is definitely for casuals. That's a good change. Yeah.
Another thing you could do, if that's too complicated, is you could have modes for your follower. You could have follow mode where it like sticks right next to you like a sim, or I don't know what I think the mode that they're currently in would be called Bonanza, where they just do whatever the hell they want all the time. But I mean, you could have different like temperaments for your follower, and just or literally stand still, and that would be a skill, right? Like almost controlling your follower. Oh, you're right there. Stop. Stay right there, and I'll pull to you. So something for the love of God.
I think that, I mean, maybe my opinion is a bit more controversial, but like, I don't like being forced into using a follower. I think that if I want a minion, I'll play a fucking witch doctor or a necromancer. Why am I forced to have a follower? I hope that's something they definitely do away with in Diablo 4.
I'm with you here. I've never enjoyed them, but if we are talking about the necessary Diablo 3 followers, I love the idea to control them a little more, especially with the flag, considering how underutilized that system is.
That would
I
actually
mean-
give more of a meaning to the flag. That's true.
And another thing is like to go off of what Fluffy said. I mean, followers are only there essentially just to give you an Oculus ring, and some builds don't even get the Oculus ring, right? Because like, if you don't get the kill, or your pets get the kill, there are some builds that don't even get the Oculus ring, and it's like, and a lot of the times all they do is just piss me off. So, but there are some builds where it's like, all right, well, I lose 85% damage, but I don't have to deal with my follower. Is that worth it? And the fact that I'm even thinking about that is pretty scary, right? Because that's a lot of damage. So, something for followers to control them in some way. I wouldn't be upset if they got rid of him. I'm sure that's not the answer they're going to go for. So something.
Yeah, I personally also wouldn't mind if we could get rid of them. I guess it normalizes the way you play by lots, and definitely some Oculus RNG that,
Imagine if
sometimes
they were like
not
Diablo
that
2,
healthy.
like, and they were just so OP.
I mean, yeah,
So
Diablo
glad it's
2,
not
you
like
had
that.
crazy stuff on the followers, right? You could what's like break immunities with like an infinity weapon. They actually reduce the resistance of monsters. There were like so many crazy things. Followers could decrep monsters for you. That was crazy. Could curse monsters for you.
Yep.
Um,
Maybe this is their big brain play of like phasing them out because they're so crap in D3 and they're so good
oh,
in D2
I see.
and
So it's like
D4.
D2 and then, oh yeah.
Slowly
Yeah.
over time.
Don't exist
Make them
anymore
worse.
before.
Well, in that case, just leave them the way they are. It's the perfect plan.
I mean, yeah. Filthy, how do you feel about followers? What's the casual aspect here?
I mean, they don't. The impact of them is not massive, is it? Yeah, it's Oculus, it's S of Johan, it's a bit of healing from the Templar, a bit of attack speed from the Enchantress. The Scoundrel, don't think I've ever used. Which obviously, again, it's like
they have free followers. Never noticed.
it's like a little microcosm of lots of the issues in this game, isn't it? It's like you've already got a third of that little system that we would like to improve a lot. A third of it isn't used, and yeah, just improve them, do something, just have them be more helpful.
And I believe that overall wraps it up for today, guys. Thank you so much for all of you for being here. For the people listening in, unfortunately we couldn't make all the topics. I'm sorry to my guests and the viewers. We skipped heavily on the classes, I suppose. If you guys at home want to see a follow-up episode on Bring Your Own Patch Notes where we focus a bit more on classes and items, please let us know in the comments. Tweet at us if you like this and if you want to see a similar episode. I'm sure we'd bring it to you guys if you want to listen on that one. I want to say thank you to my phenomenal guests today, Rax, Deadset, Fluff, and Filthy. Quickly, where can people find you? Like, where can they find you?
On Twitch and YouTube and stuff. I look for the blue hoodie guy. You'll find me.
That's it?
Yeah,
SaveIcyBrains.com. Yeah, that's my hangout these days.
Easy.
But yeah, also on Twitter, same name as the one spelled below me, I think.
Hells yeah. You know where to find me. The Face of Diablo.
Easy.
playing the campaign.
Yeah, play the campaign for sure.
Yeah, I'm at YouTube and Twitch, so yeah, come hit me up.
Yeah. And I'm your host for today, sVr. Next episode will not be next weekend. We'll take a 1 week break. We'll be back in 2 weeks from now. And it will be a BlizzCon special. It will be our first episode of Behind the Scenes. We don't have a lineup yet. We only know a couple of people that will show up. And we'll discuss how it is at BlizzCon. We'll share some pictures, some stories that you usually likely won't hear. And that's a behind the scenes point of view to an offline event such as BlizzCon. See you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.